Well, hello and welcome to coverage of the first of 7 momentous T20 internationals between Pakistan's men and England. It has been close to 17 years since England played in Pakistan, an absence many say is far too long. But tonight in Karachi at the National Stadium, it is the return of England to Pakistan. A cause for celebration not just around this cricket-mad country, but indeed for the cricket world. It is unsurprisingly a sellout, and we expect that to be the case throughout the series. England have won the toss. Stand-in captain Moeen Ali has elected to have a bowl first. Let me go through the two teams because there is plenty of significance, particularly around this England side. We know there are absences. There's no Jos Buttler with a calf injury. There's also no Johnny Bairstow after that broken leg earlier in the month. And so it is a side that has certain familiarities, but certainly some surprises in there as well. Phil Salt opens the batting alongside Alex Hales, back in the England side after 1,291 days since his last opportunity for England's white ball side. Then it's David Malan, Ben Duckett gets a chance, Harry Brook, Moeen Ali captains the side, Sam Curran, David Willey, Luke Wood gets a debut, Adil Rashid and Richard Gleeson. For Pakistan, Babar Azam is the captain. Mohammad Rizwan, some talk he might be rested, but he's in the side, keeping wicket. Haider Ali, Shan Masood gets a T20 international debut at the age of 32. Iftikhar Ahmed, Kishtil Shah, Mohammad Nawaz, Usman Qadir, Haris Rauf, Naseem Shah, this exciting fast bowler, and then Shahnaz Dahani as well. We will discuss the teams in full, and particularly that significant England team news shortly. But as we mentioned, this is a huge tour, hugely significant, and 17 years is a long time since England last played a match in Pakistan. Back then it was an ODI side, including the likes of Ian Blackwell, Vikram Solanki, Marcus Trescothick. Well, the BBC's Joe Wilson has been looking at what this tour means to a country that has had to cope without hosting international cricket for most of the last 2 decades. Joe's been out and about in Karachi.
This is the sound of the teams arriving for evening training at Karachi's cricket stadium. A helicopter swoops and circles overhead. The buses carrying the players, bulletproof we are told, are surrounded by dozens of other vehicles. Dark police cars, jeeps with armed guards, ambulances. Lights flashing, moving at speed as the roads around the ground are closed to all other traffic. It's a vivid display of the security measures in place to make these matches happen. But at the same time, as a visitor, the overall sense in Pakistan has been the warmth of the welcome. As a TV journalist, no one has sought to inhibit or restrict us beyond the normal, sensible routines of protection. We're also aware, of course, of the terrible impact of flooding across Pakistan, including in this province. Yet there's no mistaking the sense of life continuing as normal in Karachi, with the congestion and pace you'd expect in one of the world's biggest cities. And that goes for cricket too. On Sunday afternoon, we found a local park filled with a bewildering number of overlapping games of tape ball cricket. The paths are the pitches, pieces of stone the stumps, everyone trying to bowl as fast as possible and to hit the ball as far as possible. Different games go on just 5 metres apart. Few, if any, of these young participants would even remember the last time England toured Pakistan. Some weren't even born in 2005. But they're all well aware of England's presence here now.
I'm going to stadium to watch all matches.
All matches?
Yes.
Oh. And how many will England win?
50-50. I hope Pakistan will win series.
So I also thankful for all England team. That's he come here in Pakistan. Pakistan is such a good place, and all Pakistan likes cricket so much. That's we all so appreciate England team ki come there. Pakistan is so safe country. I like that.
Good, thank you.
In our short time in Karachi so far, cricket has been like a magic word. Mention it to anyone, explain that's why you're here, and they smile and shake your hand. That's the connection, and I think the significance, which goes far beyond the results of these matches.
Well, Moeen Ali, England's stand-in captain, was just 18 years old the last time England played in Pakistan. He'd recently made a debut in first-class cricket for Warwickshire. Now he leads this England side, and Joe Wilson has been speaking to Moeen.
Mo, like so many people, I've been wondering whether England would ever come back to Pakistan, and hoping that they would.
To be standing here speaking to you in Pakistan, it feels to me like a really significant thing. Does it feel like that to you?
Yeah, it's not really sunk in yet. I feel like to be in Pakistan, to be with the England side after so long, first of all, it's an amazing thing, and it's great for the Pakistanis and the fans of cricket in Pakistan as well. England have come and are representing and are bringing cricket back here. I know cricket's been played here, but I think until England come back, it's always it's always in the air a little bit. And I'm just really super excited to be here, and I know it means a lot to me, my family, and my relatives and my community. So it's awesome.
One thing, and I remember speaking to you about this years ago, Mo, that I think you just do naturally, is you show that you can be proud to be British, proud to be English, and proud to be Muslim, and that's something I think you've done naturally in your career. It seems to me in a way that now you're here leading England and Pakistan, it almost completes the connection in a way. It just almost brings it full circle beautifully.
Yeah, of course, and I know I've captained a couple of times before, but to be here and to start this series as a captain, obviously we've just been injured. It's a little bit ironic. I feel like it's just meant to happen, and kind of everything's aligned for me to do this, and at the stage of my career as well, and all the things I've gone in even before that. So I feel like it is obviously an amazing and a proud moment, but I feel like it was almost meant to be almost.
I know you were born and bred in Birmingham, as was your dad, but the Pakistan heritage goes certainly back to your grandfather. And I guess it was a big thing growing up, was it? I mean, the Pakistani identity was part of your youth and part of your growing up.
For me, it was a big thing. The culture was installed in me when I was a child. It was something my mother made sure I had, and my family's, my father, even though he was born in England, he still had that strong culture of Pakistani culture, and being proud of being Asian, being proud of being Muslim, being proud of being a Pakistani. These kind of things are really, really important to me and my family.
Absolutely. And I do passionately believe that cricket provides a connection between communities in the UK and also between Britain and countries like Pakistan. But it's hard to keep that connection if England don't come here, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's a strong connection. It always has been a strong connection. I think obviously with England not coming here for so long, it's been really sad, and it's been, I guess, quite depressing for a lot of people. And I think the fact that we're here now, and hopefully in the future will come many times more, is a great sign going forward. And for me to be part of that is amazing.
Well, Moeen Ali speaking to Joe Wilson ahead of the first T20 international of 7 to be played between Pakistan and England's men. It is a massively significant day. As we have mentioned, the two sides are out in the middle, and we are almost ready for the national anthems. There will also be a minute's silence in memory of victims of the floods recently in Pakistan, but also Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The two sides lining up in the middle, and it is time first for that moment's silence. Well, the national anthems of first England and then Pakistan. Huge cheers around the National Stadium in Karachi. And just briefly, it is a good afternoon to Atif Nawaz, and you'll be with us throughout this series, Atif, and throughout this programme today. But we keep saying it's a significant moment. How significant?
It's hugely significant, especially, you know, with what's been going on. Obviously, England with the passing of Her Majesty, but also in Pakistan with the floods that have affected such a huge proportion of the country there, and it's been a very, very difficult thing in Pakistan. You know, it's, you know, it can't be overstated how far it's affected the local communities out there. But again, as a lot of people have said in the build-up to this game, cricket is such a hugely significant thing in that country, and it's hopeful that it will be a positive distraction away from that, as well as a philanthropic one, because I believe proceeds from today's game and this special shirt that Pakistan's wearing is going to the Flood Relief Fund.
Indeed, Atif, thank you very much. We will speak to you in due course. Alim Dar is standing in his 62nd T20 international. He is all in black as he heads to the middle. England in the red jerseys with the blue bottoms. Pakistan in a rather fetching, slightly darker shade of green, and their numbers, these special shirts that Atif was mentioning, they have sort of watermarks halfway up each of the numbers in reference to the recent flooding in Pakistan, which has been, of course, dominating the minds and thoughts of anybody with links to that country, and our thoughts, of course, very much with those affected by those recent floods. The two openers, Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan, heading to the middle. Paul Fabrice, former England coach, is alongside me as well. Fabi, lovely to see you. This England side then, this lots of familiar names from your time on England duty, but it's been nearly 1,300 days since we could say Alex Hale's England cricketer.
Yes, I mean, if they didn't pick him now with the injury to Johnny Bairstow, then he probably was never going to come back into the team. So from a cricket point of view, I'm absolutely delighted he's back into the team. I think he deserves his chance. He has been out of the side for a long time, but his form has been absolutely fantastic. And as I say, there's never been a better time to pick him. And you know, the simple thing about selection is you pick people in form playing well. And he's got a lot of experience. He's obviously played brilliantly in Australia in the Big Bash over the last few years. So with the World Cup coming up there, it makes absolute sense to bring Hales back into this team. Yeah,
and he gets an opportunity alongside Phil Salt at the top of the order. We won't be seeing England batting for an hour and a half or so, because they've got a job to do with the ball. David Willey, as has been the way so regularly over the last few years, has the ball in hand, looking to exploit any swing that might be available with a white ball that tends to offer a little bit for an over or two, but then becomes slightly less helpful to the bowling side. Is preparing to bowl the first delivery. It is the first T20 international, the first of 7 between Pakistan and England's men, live from the National Stadium in Karachi. The stands absolutely packed full. I can see loads of mobile phone lights shining from underneath the rafters. The supporters that are eager to see Pakistan against England for the first time in Pakistan since 2005. It is a long time to wait. And of course, these teams are very familiar with one another, and lots of these England players have played in Pakistan in the Pakistan Super League, and will be well known to supporters around the ground and to the conditions. But for an England side, well, that is a different thing altogether. The England team in black armbands, and David Willey with the ball in hand, blonde hair, tosses it from one hand to the other. A little bit of a delay as we just wait for everything to be ready, and then the cry from the umpire is play. We've got a countdown on the big screen. That'll just delay things for a moment. Normally when we see a countdown at the start of the game, have a little bit of a delay and eventually things get going, and indeed that is exactly the case as David Willey bounds in now, left arm over. This is pushed into the offside from the bat of Rizwan, and there's going to be runs immediately. Just a single though. Throw comes in from Ben Duckett at deep cover, and we are up and running. International cricket between Pakistan and England has returned to Pakistan.
It is fantastic, isn't it? I mean, it's, you know, I've been very lucky that I've been to Pakistan with the Sri Lankan team many times. There is nothing better, and it's brilliant to see the England team. And you know, as Moeen said in his interviews, it was meant to be that he would captain England in this first game back, and it's so good to see him there.
He's standing at slip as Willey is in bowling onto the pads of Babar Azam, who's going to get runs there. Into the onside it goes, and for 4. Lovely piece of timing from the Pakistan superstar. Just a little leg side-ish, perhaps a bit full as well. David Willey hoping that ball will swing into the pads. It did just that, but it offered a straightforward opportunity for Babar Azam to get that scoreboard moving. 5 without loss.
Well, that's the one thing that these England bowlers are going to learn very quickly. There's not a great deal of help from the pitches in Pakistan. Karachi is one of the great batting surfaces. I was involved in a test match there with Sri Lanka. We got 693, they got 723.
Here comes David Willey. That slip's gone immediately, and they'll have to be quick if they want this single, which is taken. Phil Salt loses one of his keeping gloves, but in the process of running around to pick up, another run is taken. 6 without loss. And I know that your role with Sri Lanka, you were on that team bus in 2009, and part of the party for that incident which led to so long away from international cricket for Pakistan, hosting wise. And so for you, this no doubt will have a degree of significance seeing this game today. We'll wait for the next delivery as we see Rizwan on strike. David Willey heels up. This is pushed into the offside. Probably just a single there. Indeed it is. 7 without loss is the score.
Yeah, look, I'm, this is real mixed emotions for me in terms of seeing this, because I'm absolutely delighted to see the Pakistan team playing huge series. Australia have been, now England have been, and it's so significant because my time in Pakistan was nothing more than a cricketing education. Everybody's passionate about the game, the love for the game, the people in the cities that we played at, the hotels. It is a fantastic place to play cricket, and I'm genuinely so pleased to see these games taking place.
Babar Azam waits, and this is pushed into the offside. Again looking for that quick single. Throw comes in at the non-striker's end, misses, and it misses the stumps. Doesn't necessarily miss middle stump for Sam Curran, who's hunched over and looks in rather a degree of pain. Backing up, 8 without loss with the ball left of the first over. And you can hear the noise around the ground, Paul. This is a sensational atmosphere, and it is a special place to see international and big game cricket.
Absolutely. I remember an Asia Cup game there. Shahid Afridi came in, and I've never heard so much noise in a cricket ground in my life, and he was out first ball and 3/4 of the ground emptied as he was walking off. I've never seen anything like the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in a cricket stadium anywhere. But just going back to the significance of this series, it is so significant. It is so good for the people of Pakistan, and it's so good for the game of cricket around the world that Pakistan are now hosting major internationals again. And my sadness, I guess, my mixed feeling is for the people that lost their lives on the day that were helping us to go to a cricket match in Lahore, and innocent people that were helping us go and play a game of cricket, a game that is so significant to the people of Pakistan. And I've never forgotten them, I never will forget them, and I know none of the Sri Lankans will do either, but this is so significant.
Willey bowls, worked away by Rizwan in front of square on the leg side. Every run greeted by a huge cheer as the throw comes in from Harry Brook on the leg side boundary, and the first over has been bowled. 9 without loss is the score. Babar is on 6, Rizwan is on 3, and as we heard from that report from Joe Wilson ahead of the start of the game, he said every time he mentioned the reason he was in Pakistan was for cricket, a huge smile on the faces.
Absolutely. You're so blessed when you go to a country like Pakistan and you talk to people about the game, the net bowlers. You can't until people go there, and that's why one of the great things, the Pakistan Super League has been fantastic, because so many England players have been there over the last few years, have thoroughly enjoyed it, and have gained that cricketing education that you can only get in Pakistan. And these England players will be so much richer in terms of the experience for going there and playing there. Their learning will be fantastic. And as I say, that the PSL has done a great job in attracting players there. But to be there, to see an England team playing there and learning together, but experiencing everything that is great about the country and the place, and the absolute passion for the game, you just cannot explain it. You really can't. And I'm so pleased England are there. The test matches coming up will be fantastic as well, but let's enjoy these 7 games. Really, let's enjoy them.
Sam Curran then, more left arm over bowling for England early in this game, and a drive, not quite timed from the bat of Rizwan, only finds the hands of David Willey. At mid-on, Sam Curran back up and at him after That ball bounced rather awkwardly in front of him. Backing up in that first over. He's bowling from the university end at a venue that is single-tiered all around, except for the media centre end, which is stacked sort of 4 or 5 stories high. And we see Curran bowling to Rizwan, leaning on a delivery, and there's not a run there. Bubba wants it, running from the non-striker's end, and it was never there. He puts a hand up in apology, the eagerness to get things moving, but it would have been a highly risky run to the arm of David Malan. Had the throw hit, he would have just been home.
2 dot balls. I don't think we're going to see that too often on these pitches, Henry. I think any dot ball will be a massive success for the bowlers, and certainly early on. Hardness of the ball, obviously only 2 fielders out. These are crucial deliveries from Sam Curran. Interesting, isn't it? England going in with 3 left-arm seamers into their attack. And that seems to be the thing at the moment in T20 cricket. Everyone's talking about the change of angle, the left armer's ability to bowl over and around the wicket and create different angles. Be interesting to see how it plays out on these surfaces.
Sam Curran running in, left arm over, a little bit fuller, driven up towards mid-off. Make that 3 dot balls. What a good start this is from Curran. Valuable, not just considering the conditions, but also considering the power play overs, the first 6, when you've got the 2 fielders only outside the circle, and really want to get off to a quick start.
Yes, you do. And I mean, these 2 batters, you know, in Rizwan and Babar Azam, you've got 2 of the best players in T20 cricket in the world, probably the best opening partnership at the moment. Fantastic players, great strikers of a ball.
Dropped into the offside. There'll just be the 1 run there, though, because as Malan trots in from behind square on the offside, it is just a single, 9 without loss to score.
Yeah, both, as I say, both absolutely fantastic players, and a real pleasure to watch. And you know, I know the bowlers won't be thinking that, but these are 2 fine batters that we're going to see a lot of over the next couple of months, leading into and being star players in the World Cup for the Pakistan team.
Well, Rizwan is an entertaining cricketer to watch during the game, quite entertaining in the warm-ups as well. Here comes Sam Curran. This is helped round the corner, lovely shot. Goodness, what a piece of timing. It was 2 leg side-ish from Curran, up on the hips really of Baba, and worked away behind square for 4 runs. 14 without loss with a ball left of this second over.
You can't bowl halfway down on these surfaces. He just sits up and he's absolutely dispatched that. It really was almost like a throwdown for him, halfway, hip height as you say, and just helped round the corner. Rizwan and I, we have you mentioned him being quite entertaining character. We have a little bit of history going back to his early days when he ran on to Jimmy Anderson as the 12th man and tapped his shoulders to show that a decision had been reversed. I'll come back to that in a moment.
Here comes Sam Curran, final ball of the second over. Babar Azam is waiting, pushing that ball into the offside and sprint through for a single to keep the strike. Brook running in from the boundary to pick up and throw. 15 without loss is the score after 2 overs.
So we were playing a test match in Sharjah, and the 2 change rooms side by side with just a glass partition between them on pitch level, and we were struggling for wickets. Jimmy Anderson got a wicket, umpire gave it at LBW, batsman referred it, and Rizwan was he was young man at the time in the side. He was 12th man. He ran on with the drinks, and the decision got overturned, and he ran up to Jimmy and he tapped both shoulders, as you see with the umpires do, to say I'm reversing the decision, and ran off. And so I greeted him at the boundary edge and said, be careful, it's a game that you don't play with. And the next morning we turned up and they'd put cardboard all the way down the screen between us so that we couldn't see the opposition.
Here comes Willie bowling, pushed into the offside. Work to do for Hales, who has to dive to try and haul that ball in. Does really well. It may be some time since the 33-year-old played in England colours, but he looks as energetic as ever, stopping that boundary. 18 without loss, the score after 2.1 overs.
So the cardboard went up to stop us being able to look in to see them. So I walked all the way down to the bottom and called up to Rizwan to say good morning. And ever since then, every time he greets me with 2 taps on the shoulders, and he's never forgotten it. And it always brings a great smile to both of our faces.
Is he on strike now as David Willey runs in? Rizwan, right-hander, deep in the crease and cutting that ball away violently out to the boundary for 4. It's a lovely shot. It wasn't that wide. but he created that extra bit of width, and the ball was at the boundary in moments. 22 without loss.
Fantastic hands. The one thing about Rizwan is the pace of his hands, how quickly he gets his hands through the ball. And as you say there, it wasn't that short, it wasn't that wide, but he's created the room by the speed of his hands and just taking his body a fraction away from the line of the ball. Magnificent shot.
Rizwan's on 8. He's gone at a runner ball so far and waits now for David Willey. And once more, attacking the leg side this time. 4 more runs. David Willey has so little in terms of margin for error, and a little bit too close to the hips of Rizwan. No bounce again, and easy pickings, and over there's already seen 11 from it from the first 3 balls.
And again, you're absolutely right. He's brought his line a fraction straighter because of the previous ball going through the offside, and Rizwan's speed of his hand, his bottom hand in particular, just shoveled that round the corner backward a square. Fantastic speed of his hands, but both shots head absolutely still. Magnificent technique.
Rizwan on 12 as Willie bowls. This is a little bit straighter, so not quite as easy to work behind square on the leg side. Instead just dropped in front of square. Brook runs in to pick up. 1 run is taken. 27 without loss. Just going back to that incident between Rizwan and Jimmy Anderson. Knowing Jimmy as we do, I don't sense it's the sort of person that would find that terribly funny.
Oh, he laughed it off. He was fine about it, as you can imagine. No, it did stay with him for a day or two, I have to say.
The green and white flags are flying around the National Stadium in Karachi. Just listen to that noise. Here comes David Willey once more. Babar Azam, the captain, is waiting, pushing off the back foot, threading the needle and finding 4 runs. It's a lovely shot. There are few better sights in the game than Babar Azam piercing the cover fielders and picking up 4 runs. 31 without loss.
We talked at the start of the over about 2 magnificent shots from Rizwan in terms of the speed of his hands and his judgment of picking up the length, but that from Babar Azam is as good as you'll see. Whatever form of the game, whatever colour the ball, that is a magnificent cricket shot, isn't it? Timing, and you were very kind to Alex Hales earlier, but he had no chance of stopping that one.
Willey bowls. It's just chipped slightly awkwardly in the air, but drops well short of the fielder at square leg. 3 overs have been bowled, 32 without loss. You're listening to the first of 7 T20 internationals between Pakistan and England. Henry Moran with you alongside former England and Sri Lanka coach Paul Farbrace. Expensive over that one. 17 runs from it, and whatever swing there was for the first 2 or 3 deliveries has quickly decided to disappear.
Yeah, you're not going to get. I mean, we talk a lot about that the new ball might swing. It doesn't swing a great deal in these conditions. It does swing off the bat very quickly, as we've seen. If you get it wrong, and the margin for error on these pitches it is very, very small. They are fantastic batting surfaces, that they're very true batting surfaces, and you can really, as a batsman, you can really trust the bounce and hit through the line of the ball. And as we've seen there, David Willey a fraction outside off stump, maybe 5th stump, cut away for 4, straightened his line up, pulled away for 4, and then just got his line a fraction wrong to Babar Azam, and he's just punched that through wide and mid-off. Fantastic over for Pakistan.
Well, here's a significant moment. Luke Wood is getting his opportunity in an England shirt for the first time. Another left-arm over bowler, and the first delivery is quite brilliantly stopped on the edge of the circle and the offside by a diving Harry Brook. Awkwardly on the bounce, and he prevents 4 runs. In fact, there was no run at all. It was played so well that it wasn't even a set-off from the 2, really, and Moeen Ali applauded the effort of Brook. Wood it is, running in, 77 on his back, short sleeves, pushed into the onside, worked away for a single, and that will see the score move forward to 33 without loss. Luke Wood, what can you tell us, Farby, about what he can offer?
I think he's an excellent all-round cricketer. I think his skills as a bowler, he's a very skiddy bowler. He's very good at mixing his pace up. Very intelligent bowler. I really like Woody. I think he's really developed a lot in the last couple of years, and he's someone that his all-round game is excellent. He strikes a good ball. He's brilliant in the field. So look, I think it's a really, really exciting selection.
Wood bowls slightly fuller, driven, not perfectly in terms of timing, out towards Hales at mid-off, and there's no run.
But as I say, very, very, very skillful, and I've watched him carefully over the last couple of years really develop his skills. I think he's someone who is deceptively quicker than you think he's going to be. He bowls a good bouncer. He's got very good changes of pace, and as I say, very skillful. And he's not afraid to mix his skills up. You know, he's someone who's very confident when he's got the ball in his hand.
Wood running in again. And this is on middle and leg, work behind square on the leg side to the hands of Richard Gleeson. The score 35 without loss. Got 2 balls left of the 4th over. England's surplus of left-arm bowlers is an unusual one, isn't it? I mean, it just seems that everywhere you turn, you've got options, and the rarity actually is those that bowl right-arm.
Yes, and you obviously Topley's not in the starting 11. I mean, you could quite easily go in with 4 frontline left-arm seamers, and they all offer something slightly different.
Wood bowls on the pads. There's a big appeal for LBW. My instinct is that it's probably pitched just outside the line of leg stump. And now the decision for Moeen Ali whether to go upstairs. Asif Yaqub is the umpire, and Moeen is just asking that question: is it worth us having a little look? And the decision is no. It was close. It was a good ball.
Well, I gave it out. You see, that's the difference, Henry. You're obviously a lot calmer and more logical thinker. I'm an excited coach, and I've given that out because that looks like it's knocking the lot over to me. But
it's knocking the lot over.
You might be right about the line. I mean, the only thing is we haven't seen a great deal of swing, and you're probably right. It has probably just pitched outside the line of leg stump. But I gave it out straight away. I'd have wasted a review on that one. But you're obviously a lot calmer with your use of reviews than I am.
Here comes Wood once more. Fuller delivery, which is worked into the leg side. Probably just a single, and David Willey throws from mid-on. They have run through for 1, but it's a good start for Luke Wood. 4 from it. 36 without loss is the score after 4 overs. Let's have a look at this. It has just...
You're a good umpire.
Wow.
You are a sensational umpire. I'd have wasted a review on that.
It's
absolutely wasted a review.
It's one of those where you'd be thinking, if you're Moeen Ali, at best it's umpire's call, and you keep your review, but you're not going to overturn it.
Yeah,
if it's given out,
and this is always the interesting one for me. We always talk with reviews about the wicketkeeper being a key person in this. Very difficult for Phil Salt as a wicketkeeper to see where that's pitched. So he's got the line, the shape of it, but for him to say it's pitched outside leg stump, bowler falling away, very difficult. You think that you've seen it pitching in line. You can see why sometimes the one that pitches outside leg stump is a very difficult one to get right for a left arm seamer bowling over the wicket. Great over though from Luke Wood. I thought, as we said at the start, the over, very skillful, mixes his pace up well, mixes his line and length up well, and he did that really well. There was no room for the batsmen to use their hands. You talk a lot to bowlers about take the batsman's hands out of the game, and by that you're trying to restrict the swing of their arms, and I thought he did that really well in his first over.
Here comes Richard Gleeson, who is bowling a delivery that goes past the flying blade of Rizwan's bat, looking to cut the ball through the offside, but Gleeson, who sent that flying down at 145 kilometres an hour, so around about 90 miles an hour, is a bowler aged 34 who's only just made his England debut, but it's already looking a really important part of this attack.
And he'll be delighted to have got away with that, because that's probably the widest ball we've seen bowled by any of the bowlers so far, and I think the sheer pace has gone through Rizwan more than anything else.
Gleeson in. Rizwan waiting with a flick. Oh, that's that sort of helicopter swivel of the bat. A single is taken behind square on the leg side. It's worth remembering this is an England bowling attack that we expect will look quite different for the T20 World Cup. We think we have Mark Wood, Chris Wokes,
Yeah, and you know, there's plenty of good options within this squad. Ollie Stone's another one, as we mentioned, Reece Topley. I think this is a real opportunity in these games for people to stand up and show their quality. And I know there's a squad has been selected for the World Cup, but you're going to get injuries, and obviously there's a lot of cricket to be played, very quickly after the World Cup. So it's a brilliant opportunity.
Gleeson, tall figure, right arm over, pushes that ball into the offside, and the right-handed Babar Azam doesn't really time that ball towards the familiar but slightly surprising sight of Alex Hales in an England shirt fielding at mid-off. It all feels very 2018.
Well, as I said at the start, I'm pleased he's back in. I think, in terms of the time he's had away from the game, from playing for England, he scored a lot of runs, and with Johnny Bairstow unfortunately being injured, the decision to take Jason Roy out, it seems the only time they could have brought him back.
Gleeson bowling, full delivery, which is clipped away past the fielder at mid-on. It's going to rush out to the boundary for 4. No chance for that man out. Luke Wood on the deep mid-wicket boundary, and that is all about the timing from the bat of Rizwan. Playing that shot on one leg almost, was he? No, not quite, just deep in the crease and clipping it away. Perfect timing, perfect placement.
Yeah, it's a fantastic cricket shot, isn't it? I mean, we talked about the first ball. Gleeson's pace got a dot ball there, but actually his pace has cost him 4 runs, because that's fuller, straighter, and Rizwan's just used the pace of the ball to tuck it through the leg side. Superb timing.
Rizwan on 20, Pakistan 42 without loss. Again, the leg side is targeted. I have to be quick here, but David Willey, left arm running around that ball, had just a fraction of a second longer to pick up and throw, and they get through for a single. This Pakistan opening pair, Rizwan and Baba, who have done a good job so far. There's a ball left of the 5th over. 43 without loss is the score. And Gleeson has 1 ball left of his first over. We've not seen any spin yet for England. We have the 2 spin options of Moeen and Adil Rashid. As in comes Gleeson. Past umpire Alim Dar. It's a clever delivery. Slower ball bouncer which balloons over the head of a ducking Babar Azam. The speed gun says that the release of that was 145 kilometres an hour. Again, I'm not having that because it seemed to just absolutely droop and drop away. But I'm getting out of the way, Paul Farberay. Some thoughts from you on this excellent start for Pakistan, and then Atif Nawaz.
Well, not only are you a fantastic umpire, you're obviously a keen scientist as well, because you worked out that was a slow ball bounce, and I'm with you. I don't think the speed gun necessarily was correct on that time. Pakistan will be delighted with this start. I think they've shown how good this pitch is. You can play fantastic cricket shots. You can hit through the line of the ball. You can trust the bounce. And any batters will tell you, anywhere in the world, in T20 cricket, when you're opening, you're looking for that good start, you want to be able to trust the bounce of the ball. You want to get your hands through the line of the ball, and they've both done exactly that. But 2 fantastic players in Babar and Rizwan. I mean, I said earlier, I think they're the best opening pair in world cricket at the moment in T20, and I'm sure you're not going to disagree with that, are you?
Well, the rankings agree with you, Paul. I can tell you that, as in comes Luke Wood. Its full's been driven beautifully down the ground to the long off boundary for 4 by the man who's currently number 1 in the world in the ICC World Rankings, Mohammad Rizwan. Pakistan move on to 47 for no loss from 5.1 overs, as that near capacity crowd at the National Stadium in Karachi cheer and enjoy their 2 heroes. And I think a lot of people would agree with you. I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about the way that this opening pair approach that first phase of a T20 innings, and it came under scrutiny after their performance in the Asia Cup. And there's in some circles discussions of Pakistan's power play being almost a liability. Even though you've got these 2 great batters, there's a sense that maybe they held back a little bit, which isn't something that you should be doing in the modern game, perhaps. What are your thoughts on this, Paul?
Well, I think with both of them, they play strong cricket shots, and with the field up, you can afford to play strong cricket shots and just pierce the field.
As Luke Wood in once again, back of a length into the pad of Rizwan, who works it into the onside and turns back. There's no run taken.
And I think if you're playing on surfaces like this, where you can trust the surface and you can hit through the ball, there's only 2 fielders out, you're looking just to pierce the field. You haven't got to play big shots and hit over the top. It's not always about the power game. It's actually, you can use the pace of the bowlers, you can use the surface and pierce the field. And I think that's what Rizwan and Baba do really, really well. They're proper batters, they're not up there just to have a slog and have a hack at the ball. They actually play strong cricket shots, and sometimes you get on surfaces where you know it's going to slow up a little bit. You've got to make use of the new ball. I can see Pakistan fans being frustrated by that.
Back of a length from Luke Wood, pulled awkwardly towards deep backward square leg by Rizwan for a single. 48 for no loss off 5.3. Yeah, I mean, the sort of the approach that this Pakistan team has taken of late is to sort of accumulate in that first half and then build, have wickets in hand going into the last 5 or 6 overs, and then you go to your power hitters, a role that's recently been performed by Asif Ali, who struggled in the Asia Cup and hence isn't playing today. Hushtil and Iftikhar still remain, of course, but the sort of detractors would say that you're putting your power hitters under intense pressure, and it's a high margin game as the next ball is Fuller, driven back to the bowler, well fielded in this follow through by Luke Wood. There is no run.
Well, I quite like the idea of the way that these two play. I like the fact that they play strong shots. As I said, they're not looking to slog. They're looking to time the ball. They're looking to use the pace of the ball. Sometimes, and particularly in the Asia Cup, where the wickets perhaps a little bit slower and a little bit harder to score on than they are here. Certainly, what we're going to see, you do put your power hitters under a little bit of pressure, but that's their job. Their power hit. It's tough coming in at 4, 5, and 6 in T20 cricket. It really is.
Wood back of a length again, driven this time to mid-off. They do run through for a quick single.
And the best time to bat in T20 cricket is at the top of the order. Once you start getting to 4, 5, 6, you're either picking up the chaos that's been created early on with early wickets, or you're trying to go at 9, 10 and over without really giving yourself a chance to get in. So it's not easy, but I like these two. I'm a huge fan of Rizwan and Baba, and I'm not surprised that the stats say that they are #1 in the world. I just like the way they play, and on these surfaces I'm really looking forward to them batting well.
Luke Wood in again. This is full, driven away off a thick inside edge towards the leg side. He'll come back for a second. The throw's coming in. This might be tight, He had to dive, Mohammad Rizwan, in the end, but I think he's made it home. Pakistan's 50 comes up as well. 51 for no loss after 6 overs. The power play is done and dusted as Paul Farbrace takes a break. Stephen Finn's going to come in alongside me. And just take a look at that. It was a little bit closer. I think the crowd didn't quite sell it, really. I don't think they anticipated that close it was going to be. Good arm from the deep there from the fielder. And great pick-up from Salt as well behind the stumps. Rizwan really fully commits with that dive every time, doesn't he?
Good dive too, yeah. It was an outstanding piece of athleticism from my Sussex teammate, Mohammad Rizwan.
I've heard he's very keen on the hugs. Is he a big hug? Did you get a lot of hugs from Mohammad Rizwan?
He's a character, I'll say that much. He is he's a wonderfully interesting, humble human being.
What did you talk about, Vinny? What did you and Mohammad Rizwan talk about?
What didn't we talk about, to be honest? There was lots of it. We covered lots of topics. But no, he was entertaining to have in the dressing room for the few months that we had him this summer, and he did really, really well as well.
He did indeed. He's doing well here in the power play. Pakistan 51 for no loss. We've seen shots all round the wicket, very conventional cricket shots, nothing too risky from these two Pakistani batters as they've negotiated the power play as Aleem Dar signals with his right arm that the power play is done. 51 for no loss Pakistan after 6 overs. Sam Curran coming in for his second over. Starts with the back of a length ball. Barbara just flicks it away towards the leg side, and they'll take another single. It's a beautiful stadium, the National Stadium, Karachi. Capacity of 35,000. Watched a game there in 2015, a Qaid-e-Azam Trophy match, which is the equivalent to the county championship, and about maybe 5 or 6 people in watching that particular game. A few more in today, though, which is nice to see. And then Rizwan on strike. He's on 28 off 21. In comes Curran. Rizwan makes a bit of room and swats that away towards the leg side into the boundary. 4 more to the score. Sam Curran, for the very first time, really straying down that leg side. 56 for no loss off 6.2 overs.
Yeah, he looks to give himself room here, Mohammad Rizwan, and your temptation as a bowler is to follow him, and Sam Curran tries that, but that is Rizwan's strength. He loves flicking it off his hip and helping it on his way down there, and like we've mentioned a number of times already, the quickness of the outfield and the smallness of the boundary means that it's very easy to beat that fielder.
Curran in again, once more on the pads, but a bit fuller this time, and Rizwan more watchfully guides this down to deep backward square leg for a single. Yes, and the wicket, as Paul was saying earlier as well, it's just much better wicket than what they've been playing on recently. They were in the UAE, Pakistan lost consecutive games in the wrong end of the Asia Cup to lose out to Sri Lanka, who lifted that tournament. Really struggled on those surfaces, Pakistan's batters. Even these two looking to rectify that as Curran in once again, full of a length, and Barber happy to just drive down to long on for a single. Well, looking at this surface as well, Finney, I mean, it is sort of a precursor for the World Cup for both teams as well. I mean, how much do you get from a game like this? I mean, when the surface is like this, which is probably unlike what they're likely to come up on in Australia, what do you take from a game like this?
I think your ability to manage situations. I think you have to be adaptable to the conditions that you're playing on, and no matter where that is in the world, we'll see an array of conditions across Australia, because it does change as you move across the country.
Curran from round the wicket now has been driven beautifully straight down the ground by Mohammad Rizwan. 4 more to the score. And Pakistan on to 62 for no loss. 1 ball to come in the 7th over.
Yeah, that's a lovely shot from Rizwan. Again, using his feet, looking to give himself a little bit of room and dancing down the wicket. Manages to hold his shape, and that's been a sign of the shots that we've seen so far. There's been nothing really over the top. They've all just been nicely timed shots, which suggest that it's an absolute belter of a pitch. The England bowlers are going to have to try and combat that in some way.
Curran from wide of the crease this time has been pulled away, but it's Adil Rashid, that deep backward square leg, who's on patrol. Just a single to finish the 7th over. 63 for no loss Pakistan, with Mohammad Rizwan on 38 off 25, Babar Azam 25 off 17, going at a very good, very decent run rate. 9 runs and over at the moment, Pakistan. But it does feel already, Finney, like the surface where you kind of need a 180 plus score.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the criticisms maybe that people have aimed at this pair. I think they're wonderful players and magnificent in their own right, but when you have conditions like this, you want to be taking advantage of those first 6. And I think that we'll look at the way that England play when they come about chasing this, and they will really look to make advantage or take advantage of those first 6 overs. You have to caveat that with you need people to build innings and get themselves in, but there's not really room for 2 people like that in a team, I think, which could be the argument that people pose to these 2 batters.
Adil Rashid into the attack, starts with a full ball, it's been swatted down to long on by Rizwan. Harry Brook on the ball quickly, so just a single. I mean, that is the critique, Finney. You bang on. I mean, so these two as an opening partnership average 46 for the power play every time, which is less than most other opening pairs in the world. But they persist with this tactic. They've not changed. Mohammad Haris is in the squad as well, the reserve keeper. There was thoughts they might change things up as Adil Rashid pushes one down the leg side. That'll be called a wide. 64 for no loss. But they've sort of persisted. They've been quite defiant. And even when they lost that Asia Cup final, Saqlain Mushtaq, the coach in the press conference, was again quite defiant. He's like, we stand by our tactics. We're going to persevere with this. As Rashid in again, back of a length, and just punched out towards mid-wicket. Ben Duckett fields, just a single.
Yeah, that's fine. And when you are playing with great players, and these 2 are obviously great players, you give them the opportunity to assess conditions whilst they're out there and decide what a good score is in this innings, and they'll be communicating back to the dressing room the whole time.
As Rashid, and again, this is shorter. Just skidded on a little bit off the surface as Rizwan mistimes a pull shot behind square. There is no run.
There's certainly a little bit of spin there for Adil Rashid. Googly, Rizwan signals that to his batting partner Baba. It's a Googly that cramped him up for room, and it did look to turn. So it is a very good wicket. It looks shiny, it looks as though you can see your face in it, but a little bit of turn here for Adil Rashid so far.
And he comes again, a bit more flight this time, swept nicely by Rizwan, one-handed, as his left hand came off the bat. It goes out to deep square leg for a single, just in front of square in fact.
I'm also of the school of thought that showing aggressiveness or showing positivity is not always just recklessly running down the wicket and having a slog. I think that you have to use that within the context of your own game.
Indeed. As Adil Rashid in, another good length ball just on about middle stump, worked away out towards square leg. Good bit of fielding in the deep there from Curran, prevents the second run.
But those first couple of overs where they really are assessing conditions and the bowlers can bowl at them almost and they're waiting for a bad ball. I think when you're thinking about asserting yourself on a game, in a game of T20, you have to do that as soon as possible. And whether you use your feet or you still try and look to play controlled shots, but put a bowler off his line and length in those first couple of overs.
Another Rashid in again. This time the ball's been swept by Rizwan. Hasn't quite timed it. It's gone quite fine behind the keeper. It's a sliding stop from Gleeson in the deep. And they'll take another couple. Rizwan's gone on to 42 from 29 deliveries. Pakistan 70 for no loss after 8 overs. Going very, very well at the moment. And Rizwan is, as we say, in the Asia Cup, was minted the new world #1 in the rankings. Babar dropping from 1 to 2. Before the game, Babar taking a leaf out of Rizwan's book. We've seen Rizwan do this thing where it's almost like a physical affirmation, where he goes out to the middle before the game and just, imagines himself in a match scenario and the shot that he would play. And he's got Babar doing the same thing now. Did he ever convince you to do it, Vinny?
No, me and him stood next to each other like that would have been an interesting sight, because I think Rizzy's about 5'2" and I'm 6'8", so it looked like I've took my little boy out there to do it with me. But no, he didn't quite manage to convince me to do that. We did a bit of shadow batting in the dressing room. He was telling me the shots he thinks I should play. But no, as I said, he really was an entertaining person to have in the dressing room, a wonderful, wonderful character, and we certainly loved having him down at Sussex, both for his performances and him as a person.
Now then, the England acting captain, Moeen Ali, is in for his first over. His first ball's just been pushed to backward point for a single. Babar here just happy to play the supporting role right now.
We did lend him a car, the club lent him a car.
Rizwan, yeah.
Driving in Pakistan and driving in Hove are very, very different propositions. It's fair to say there's less rules in Pakistan than there would be in Hove for the way that you drive your car around.
Did you ever get in the car with him?
No, I wouldn't do that. No way.
Moeen Ali in again. There's Rizwan on the sweep once more, this time in front to square on the leg side. It's Brook who's going to run round from long on, in fact, to field that ball, and the batters will get through for 2. He's keeping it wide outside off, isn't he? He's trying to really goad him into playing that side of the wicket. So how did you hear about Rizwan's driving?
So our operations manager, Colin, got him the car, met him at the ground and said, do you want to jump behind the wheel and we'll just do a lap of Hove to see.
It's Moeen in again. A bit fuller this time, but punched out towards mid-wicket again. This time just a single for Rizwan. Oh, there's a bit of a slip-up. They think about the second. No. They turn around quickly. 74 for no loss off 8.3.
And he's gone driving down the road straight away. Got in the car, got the gear stick and that sorted out. And he's driving. He just drives straight down the wrong side of the road. And Colin's like, whoa. What's going on here?
Might have to get him a driver next season, huh?
and Colin was like, had to stop him, was like, right, these are the rules of the road, we drive on the left.
Yeah.
Over here you have to stop at red lights, which I don't think he understood either.
In comes Moeen. That ball's been dabbed by Babar, very, very fine, but not very far, just on the edge of the circle. It's fielded by Gleeson, just another single to the score.
But yeah, he got a very quick road safety lesson from Colin, and from then on he abided by the rules.
It's inexcusable, really, because in Pakistan, it's one of the few countries that drives on the same side of the road as England does. They also drive on the left side of the road.
I think he might have thought it was different over here.
Full and smashed down the ground by Rizwan. That might be the first 6 of the day. It is. And what a way to bring up his half-century. 51 of 32 balls. A little bit too full from Moeen Ali. And Rizwan dispatches that down the ground. It's the first 6 of this match, first of the series. Another 50 for the world #1. 81 for no loss Pakistan from 8.5 overs.
It's a wonderful shot. Advances down the wicket, meets it on the half volley. It's just a simple swing of the bat straight over Moeen Ali's head. My favourite thing.
There's Moeen in again. Down the track again comes Rizwan, this time driving along the ground. It is Harry Brook who's patrolling a long old area. That's possibly the biggest pocket of the ground down towards long on. Another couple to the score. Rizwan on 53 off 33, 83 for no loss Pakistan after 9 overs.
My favourite thing about Rizwan when he scored a 50, and he scored quite a few in the 20 over competition for us, he doesn't raise his bat. He won't raise his bat to the crowd or to the dressing room. He puts his bat down on the floor, and he just raises the palms of his hands and signals the dressing room with the palms of his hands, which I think is unique to him, you'd have to say. Around the world. But it was so funny every time he did it, and everyone would say he's not going to raise his bat here, is he? As is customary. And no, he just raised a hand, raised the palm to the guys, and we loved him.
He's got a sequence of wonderful idiosyncrasies, as has Babar Azam, who's now back on strike but can't quite get going. Drives that to extra cover for no run. Adil Rashid bowling his second over. England yet to bring Pakistan's middle over into play. It's very much been the Rizwan and Babar show. 83 for no loss off 9.1 overs. Rashid in once more. Babar happy to guide that just wide of the square leg region. They're going to come back for two. This might be tight with the direct hit. Oh, it was a poor throw. It's a long way wide. Moeen Ali backing up. And another two to the score for Babar Azam. He's on to 31 of 23. He's also been in a tricky stretch of form as Babar Azam struggled to pass 30 in the Asia Cup of late. And it's been trouble at the top of the order for Pakistan all the way through, with Fakhar Zaman out of touch. He's been dropped here. Haider Ali's now come back in. A lot of pressure on that middle order. One thing they have done of late is allow a little bit of flexibility in that batting lineup. They used to be very rigid and inflexible, but now a little bit more prone to letting one of the bottom order come up top depending on the situation. So Mohammad Nawaz used in that way against India, and he's bowled him. Adil Rashid gets one through. Babar Azam knocks over those stumps. The first wicket falls for Pakistan. 85 for 1 after 9.3 overs. And it's the world number 2, Babar Azam, who's walking back to the dugout.
It's a very rare occasion here that Babar Azam hasn't picked Adil Rashid's googly. He's gone to play this through the offside with a slightly angled bat, trying to force it through extra cover, and the Adil Rashid googly that he's so famous for now gets purchased and turned back through the gate of Babar Azam, who practices a straight batted shot as he's walking back to the pavilion. But he's gone for 31 from 24 balls. Good bowling from Adil Rashid, and England a much needed breakthrough, 85 for 1.
Yeah, huge wicket, still a prize wicket. Babar Azam I don't think he'll be too concerned, but he'll be very keen to get a big score up ahead of the World T20 in October now. Then Haider Ali is back in the side. Made his debut in T20 internationals against England, Old Trafford, a couple of years ago. I remember watching him in that game there. Got himself a 50 on debut. And since then he's played almost 32 matches for Pakistan in T20 cricket, only passed 50 4 times. And hence that position, that number 3 spot, hasn't quite become his, but he's been very impressive in T20 cricket, and he's more the kind of cricketer the top order batter you expect to see in T20 cricket. He's what is nowadays called, I think, Finney, officially called a power hitter.
The power hitter, yes. I wish I'd practiced that when I was younger, to be quite frank. Instead, I'm the walking wicket, which isn't ideal. But no, look, he's got himself a platform here. The two openers have played very well to get their team to 85 to 1, but 4-1. Sorry, but if they are going to take advantage of the platform that those two have set in the manner that they've played and want to propel themselves towards 200, then Ali here is going to have to come in and keep going and hit the ground running.
Adil Rashid in again. This time just wide outside off, driven but can't beat backward point. There is no run. A chance here for England to just sneak a few overs in, pull that expected total back. Really is a quite extraordinary googly from Adil Rashid.
It's not very often that you could say Babar Azam didn't pick it. I think he's usually excellent at playing leg spin.
Rashid in again, lots of flight on this one, driven nicely by Haider Ali. There is a sweeper out in the covers, but he's very, very square, so they managed to get back for 2. Haider Ali off the mark, 87 for 1 Pakistan. 1 ball to come in the 10th. I mean, he liked this from Adil Rashid, that he was keeping it quite flat and quick to Babar Azam, but happy to just toss it up a little bit to the new batter.
Dangle a carrot out there for him.
And he comes to Haider again, this time on a leg stump line. It's been flicked, can't beat backward point. Richard Gleeson fields, and there is no run, so an excellent over that from Adil Rashid. The big prize wicket of Babar Azam falling within it. Pakistan 87 for 1 after 10 overs. Rizwan on 53 off 33. Haider on 2 off 3. Your thoughts on this first quarter of the game we've seen so far here, Finney, and then you're going to be joined by Henry Moran.
Yes, it's been an interesting tussle, hasn't it? An opening partnership that lasted all but a few balls of 10 overs. Getting to 87 for 1 at the halfway stage. Rizwan's well set. He's on 53 from 33 deliveries right now. He's been joined at the crease by Haider, who's got 2 from 3, who's going to have to hit the ground running if he wants to propel Pakistan through to a score that is going to challenge these England batters, but with the caveat that there's a little bit of turn there for Adil Rashid and help for him, where there hasn't been very much for the seamers whatsoever.
Hello, Finney.
Hello.
Here's something I've never seen before, and that's a super stopper wheeled out during a drinks break. So it is going to collect some of the dew that has accumulated on the outfield. I suppose that's allowed.
Yeah, I mean, they've foregone the rope. The rope doesn't seem to work over there. Can't do.
Well, yeah, the rope is the other way of displacing moisture on the surface. But they've gone for the super stop, which you might just be able to hear trundling around on the outfield. The two sides, or the two batters and the England team are having drinks. It is an absolutely packed full stadium.
It does seem a bit futile, doesn't it? Because he's just going to do one big circle around the ground, but the ball will have already hit dewy grass by the time it gets to that dry strip. So,
well, that's a good point. Because you're you're sort of. I suppose it won't accumulate any more, I guess, is the logic. But what have we made of this start to the game then? 87 for 1 after 10 overs. Pakistan have a really good platform here.
They do. Life's looked hard for the seamers, and England have a lot of those in their lineup. The person who's been most effective and looked most effective, Adil Rashid, with the wrist spin. So obviously he can get more revs on the ball to be able to get it to purchase off what does look like a very good but very dry surface that just looks as though it's crumbing a little bit where the bowler's footmarks are going through. You don't anticipate that that's going to affect the way the ball behaves off the middle of the wicket that much, but that ball that Rashid bowled Babar Azam with there certainly did turn back into the right-hander. So he has 12 deliveries remaining, which you feel could be significant in the second half of this innings, but with the amount of seamers that England have picked in their team here, they're going to have to cycle through those guys as well to try and make a breakthrough.
Well, Richard Gleeson is going to have a bowl from what is the media centre end, where Rizwan at the other end on 53 from 33 deliveries, and made that astonishing debut at T20 international cricket at Edgbaston against India. Richard Gleeson, he picked up 3 for 15 and he's preparing to bowl now. Bearded figure, dark hair, and starts and then stops and begins his approach again with shirt tucked in. And Rizwan waiting on 53. There'll be another run there, at least one, probably just a single, high and square on the leg side, and the score moves forward to 88 for 1. Were you in the room earlier, Finney, when I posed my question about the last England side that played a game in Pakistan?
No.
Good.
I may have been in, but I don't think I was listening.
That's
sorry.
It's always the way when you and I have a conversation, Finney, but that's okay. 88 for 1 is the score. Haider Ali is on strike. 21 years old, waiting for Gleeson. On the big screen we can see adverts for some fast food, which finally end to allow us to see some cricket once again. Punched away into the onside. There will be a single taken quickly. Had to be quick as well. Haider moves to 3. 89 for 1. So the last time England played in Pakistan, England's men played a 5-match ODI series. It concluded in December of 2005. And answer this riddle.
Okay.
England's player of the match was not in the starting 11. How? Here comes Gleeson running in. Rizwan is on strike on 54. He's going to get runs there, possibly 4 of them. That's flashing out towards that boundary, but there is a fielder out there in the form of Luke Wood behind square on the leg side. So just a single, 90 for 1.
Well, I feel like that may be a relatively easy riddle to solve, because there were super subs, weren't there?
There were
back
super
then?
subs.
I always used to look at it, because that's about when I started taking a really keen interest in cricket. And I used to watch Glenn McGrath bowl first in an ODI, bowl 10 overs straight through, and then just walk off the pitch, and Brad Hodge or someone would come on and replace him, and his work would be done after 20 overs, and he'd probably still pick up a full match fee.
Helped round the corner. It's a little leg sideish from Gleeson, but protection in the deep in the form of Adil Rashid, who fumbles slightly, but his throw from fine leg is in quickly enough to prevent a second run. 91 for 1. Jimmy Anderson picked up 4 for 48, and in a game where he replaced Andrew Flintoff, an England team that featured Marcus Trescothick as captain. Matt Pryor opened alongside him.
Why would he have replaced Flintoff unless Flintoff wasn't bowling?
Unless Flintoff wasn't bowling.
Otherwise that makes no sense whatsoever.
In comes Gleeson. This is mistimed into the leg side once more. That's the area that Rizwan is targeting. It's fielded by Luke Wood, running in front of an enormous bucket that's perched across a grass bank beyond the boundary. 92 for 1. So the England bowling lineup, no Flintoff, was Anderson, Harmers and Plunkett, Collingwood, Ian Blackwell and Sean Udall.
Okay.
And other players on that side, Collingwood, Solanke, Geraint Jones, Strauss. England won that game. I mean, you can tell how long ago it is because you look at the scores involved. And as here comes Gleeson, bowling onto the pads of Hyder Ali, who just eases that ball out towards deep mid-wicket, and David Willey. 1 run is taken. 11 overs gone. 93 for 1 is the score. Rizwan's on 56. Hyder Ali is on 5. Because England made 206 for 9, and Pakistan fell 6 runs short.
Yeah, it does seem strange, doesn't it, that scores like that or games like that were even possible. It doesn't feel as though something like that would happen now.
Well, indeed, but it was those sort of days. Player of the series, I should say, Cameron Akmal for Pakistan, in a side that included Salman Butt, Mohammad Yusuf, Yunus Khan, Shoaib Malik, Shahid Afridi, Naveed Al Hassan, Dennis Canaria. It's a long time ago now. This is clipped into the leg side, and probably just a single as Adil Rashid starts his new over. And 1 run is worked into the leg side. 94 for 1 is the score. But yeah, the age of the super sub, a short-lived.
Didn't last long, did it?
No.
We may see a renaissance for it.
Well, it's often talked about, but it's never really quite worked. Here comes Rashid, bowling onto towards the pads of Rizwan, who paddles that ball towards short fine leg. If he'd missed, there was real trouble, but gets some bat on it, and the score moves to 95 for 1. Brilliant noise around the National Stadium, Karachi. Adil Rashid, his 77th T20 international, bowls outside the off stump. This will be 1 out to deep cover, and England doing a decent job at the moment, Finney, of just restricting the boundaries.
Yeah, they are, and it shows the importance of taking wickets through a T20. They've only taken 1, but since that 1 wicket, the scoring rate has decreased significantly. Not been a boundary since that moment in time either, which heaps pressure on Mohammad Rizwan, who is the set batter, to try and take things forward.
Hit hard, in the air, into the leg side. This looks like it could be 6. Fielder won't get there. Ben Duckett isn't the tallest. He would have needed to be about 5 times taller than he was, because the ball well over his head and over the deep mid-wicket boundary. 6 runs, the 100 up for Pakistan, 102 for 1.
Yep, certainly felt like something was going to give at some stage there. Adil Rashid flights up a leg spinner on or around off stump, and Mohammad Rizwan sees that flight full of a length, gets up and underneath it and biffs the ball 81 metres over mid-wicket, which for a small man, he's very powerful. Manages to hit it a long way.
Rashid bowling well outside the off stump this time. Again, that leg side is targeted. Rizwan will just get the 1 run out towards Sam Curran. And the score moves forward, 103 for 1. Gareth Eyre on Twitter, hashtag BBC Cricket. So good to hear the sound of a Pakistan crowd coming out of my radio again after all these years. Well, we're delighted to be bringing you not just these 7 T20 internationals, but also the Test series that will follow later on in the year. So loads of cricket to look forward to between Pakistan and England in the coming months. Here comes Adil Rashid. Hyder Ali just leans on a ball that drops into the onside. 1 run is taken, so after 12 overs. Adil Rashid's got 1 over left to bowl. He's taken 1 for 22. Pakistan well set on 104 for 1. And we're looking now, surely, Finney, north of 200 is where they should be targeting Pakistan here, because they've got 9 in hand.
It feels that way, doesn't it? Certainly does feel that way. They've set themselves a platform. 96 runs off the final 8 overs in these conditions doesn't seem out of the question whatsoever. So again, Mohammad Rizwan will just be keeping his partner calm there. He's only scored 8 from 9 balls, but he's given himself a chance to get in, and he's going to have to capitalise on that as he gets into his innings. As 9 balls is a significant amount of time to get to play yourself in a T20.
Indeed. David Willey's back into the attack, as we say hello for the first time today. It's England women's captain, Heather Knight, who's with us. How are you, Heather?
Very well, thanks, Henry.
Lovely to see you. Well, it's like an injury hit commentary team over here. We've got Finney, who's on his way back after knee surgery. You've just had hip surgery.
Just been comparing scars, haven't we, Finney?
Yes, we have, yeah. Scars and procedures and videos, actually. Little.
Do you get footage of the?
Oh yeah, you get a USB stick when you come out of the operation. No. Yeah, it's like going to Thorpe Park or some miscellaneous theme park where you can buy your experience afterwards on the ghost train or something.
104 for 1. David Willey is bowling. It's clipped into the leg side by the powerfully built figure of Haider Ali. So
I got a USB stick and Heather got a picture book.
Storybook, I did.
Did you?
Storybook, yeah.
And what? Just showing what they've done and what's going on in. Without being too gory.
Well, no, without being gory, it sounds like you're at an ice cream parlour, because he took an ice cream scoop in there and scooped away some bone. Then he got his hoover out and hoovered up the excess bone that was floating around in my knee as a result of that.
I've seen the video. It's literally an ice cream scoop.
Yeah.
I didn't get a video, unfortunately. My surgeon must have been a bit cheaper.
105 for 1. Here comes David Willey. Very full. And Rizwan looking to try and clip that ball to the right of the bowler. Can't do so, and a valuable dot ball.
Yeah, and then what other instruments did he use? There's a little smoothing tool, and then the pincers. It looks like a pair of pliers that he takes in and takes out like the bits of bone.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've got it all on my phone, but you look at the size of the scars on my knee and they're tiny. They're like a centimetre long on each side of my knee. So it must be like little borrower's equipment that he takes in there, and it's just magnified, which makes it look more gruesome on the video. I'll show you later.
Yeah, terrific. Willey bowls. Again, it's right up in that block hole, and there's not much that can be done with it. Phil Salt runs from behind the stumps and does a few little bits of football work to retrieve that delivery. It's a good ball, that, right on the toes. So you got the picture book, Heather?
I did.
Oh, but most importantly, you're both on the mend.
We are. We've been doing gymnastics over the other side of the commentary box, actually. Heather's been doing star jumps and I've been doing cartwheels.
I was wondering what was going on.
Yeah.
I've been comparing time on crutches, actually. I think I had Finney by a few days.
Here comes David Willey. Again, it's full. This time outside the off stump. He gets away with it a little bit. Low full toss, driven as far as Moeen Ali at short cover. So recovery times, do you have any idea for those that might be wondering?
So I'm 5 weeks post-surgery on Thursday, and it's looking at sort of 2.5, 3 months, so hoping to be fit for that tour of the West Indies in December.
Nice. Finney?
Well, I only really need to exercise my mouth over the next 6 months.
Oh yeah.
Talking about cricket.
Advancing is Rizwan, almost halfway down the track when he pulls that ball out towards Jordan Cox, who's on the field for whom I do not know, unless they've brought back the substitution as a sort of retro feature.
It'd be an interesting time. Before you've had a bat in the second innings, no, you're off.
106 for 1.
I am 2 weeks post-surgery today. Came off my crutches 3 days ago, had the stitches out yesterday, and will make a full recovery where you're fully back to bowling and match fit in 3 months' time, so 2.5 months from here.
Low full toss, clipped out towards deep mid-wicket for 1. Throw comes in from Brook. Haider moves to 10 from 11. 13 overs gone, 107 for 1. And if Pakistan can go 10 and over from here, they get to just shy of 190. Somebody spots themselves on the big screen and utters the immortal words, "Ooh, it's me." It was you, with the Pakistan flag painted on your cheeks. There's a great noise around the ground, and we've spoken a lot about the significance of this series and how long it has been since an England side's been playing in Pakistan. Someone who holds up a banner saying, "Thank you, England." This means a lot to a lot of people. 107 for 1 is the score. 13 overs gone. We're going to see Sam Curran back into the attack. Hyder Ali will be on strike. Needs to get a bit of a wiggle on, I feel, here, Heather. 10 from 11 doesn't feel much effort. Not effort, that's not quite fair. You know what I mean? Initiative.
Yeah, it's just been a quiet few overs. Really good bowling by England. They've contained really well, but it's a very good track with quick outfield, short boundaries, and they'll be looking to at least hit 180, 190, hopefully on this wicket.
Curran drops it short, hammered into the leg side. Perfect timing, and that will allow David Willey to get round and sling that ball in. Right above the stumps, 108 for 1.
It certainly looks a bigger boundary to the way that, or to the side that Sam Curran is bowling to here, with the two right-handers at the crease. And he certainly looks as though he's trying to change his pace and bowl it into the wicket and make those batters take that big boundary on towards that side. And with the wicket just offering a little bit of spin, Richard Gleeson did it in his previous over from that end. Lots of leg cutters, lots of slow balls into the pitch.
Curran bowls, slashed into the offside, out towards deep backward point. But the fielder Luke Wood will get round, pick up. And again, the boundary can't be found. 109 for 1.
I think one thing with Hyder Ali, the way he started, 11 runs off 12 balls, he has to kick on now because he's starting to put a little bit of pressure on Rizwan. Rizwan's been going nicely, and he might feel the pressure that he has to really take a big risk to try and find a boundary rather than continue to go as he is.
There is something extraordinary going on on the boundary edge. I hadn't actually spotted it up till now, as in comes Sam Curran. Oh, this will be runs possibly. Whoa, actually, has he got enough on it? Fielder running round, will take the catch. Just for a moment, it looked as though that ball had the legs for 6 runs. David Willey breathes a sigh of relief because he knows that he nearly overran that. And a rather frustrating innings for Hyder comes to an end. Clipped out to deep mid-wicket, Curran with the wicket. Or deep square leg, I should say. And the score 109 for 2.
Yeah, again, felt like something had to give with Hyder. Wasn't really showing any initiative or intent, and he's only looked to flick this to that boundary on the leg side, but he doesn't quite get all of it. Doesn't get the elevation to get it over the deep square leg fielder David Willey, who takes a simple catch, but judging by his expression after he held onto it, it might have disappeared into one of the floodlights or something like that. So Hyder Ali goes back to the pavilion, shaking his head, wearing the number 46. And now Shan Masood, who's been in such fine form for Derbyshire this year in the domestic game in this country, now get his opportunity at 33 years old to play a T20 international.
Maybe not the worst thing, that, Heather, for Pakistan. We will go on to what we've just seen in a moment, but for that innings, it never really got going. You see that sometimes in T20.
You do, and when you start like that, you have to catch up. You feel like you've put pressure on yourself and on your partner, and going for the big shot there, and brilliantly caught by David Willey. The sky obviously is black, lots of lights, lots of noise from the crowd, and just looked like he lost it in the lights. And looking forward to see Shan Masood bat on debut.
He's played 117 T20 matches. This is the first time in the colours of Pakistan, however. Right then, what was on the boundary was an enormous washing machine, advertising a local washing machine company. And next to it was a man who I presume had been taken from the crowd, sitting on a chair that was kind of like the seat you get on a rowing machine, that's on rails, sort of back and forward, but without... The effort was being made by the hands, by the sort of moving back and forward rather than pulling anything with your hands. And that was generating movement for this giant washing machine. Here comes Curran, and Shan Masood is eager to get off the mark, looking to work that ball into the leg side. The left-hander, but will not find a run. And so almost sort of a bit like if you're trying to push a car using your sort of backside, pushing it backwards. There's some sitting there trying to generate movement in this giant washing machine. It's one of the most extraordinary things I've seen at a cricket ground.
Yeah, it didn't look as though the clothes were going to get that clean as well. He didn't find his rhythm, did he really? It's fair to say. I went to a Coldplay concert recently, and you had to do a similar thing in order to generate power to be able to make the whole tour sustainable. So
this is almost bowled. It's an inside edge from the bat of Shan Masood. It bounces over the stumps. And this has been a good over from Sam Curran. 109 for 2. Presumably, if the band's no good and you're not enjoying it, you just stop moving.
Yeah.
All the power goes.
Yeah, you'd be disappointed if people seeing Coldplay would do that. But yes, if if it was a dodgy band, you may imagine that the lights might just go out on the whole show.
I was at the same concert actually. It was quite impressive. They had two sort of big dance floors that generated power, and they had bikes out the back that you could have a quick stint on if you weren't enjoying the gig and fancied a bit of exercise.
Really? And that was powering everything?
Not sure everything. There was a lot of lights and pyrotechnics to power.
This is pushed into the offside, out towards deep cover, and Duckett will pick up and throw in. 1-10 for 2 after 14.
I think the idea was that it generated power for the next show, so it was kinetic energy that got stored up and then used for the show the next evening.
I see.
How that works, I've got no idea. My brain's not quite intelligent enough to be able to decipher that information.
Presumably put in giant batteries. Well, if you depending on how much you
like big AA.
Yeah, enormous. But if you didn't really like anyone else, and you were like, well, I don't care. You know, if tomorrow's gig goes ahead, as long as I go myself.
As long as I see mine. Yeah, it'd be a very modern attitude, that, wouldn't it?
1-10 for 2 is the score. The National Stadium in Karachi, with the 6 floodlights shining down, and Pakistan in a good position, but they'll be wary of letting a good start go to waste. With 8 wickets in hand, they really should be looking towards certainly 180, 190. Will they get that far though? Moeen Ali, the stand-in captain, bowling off spin round the wicket to Shah Masood. Cries of catch, but the ball evades the fielder at mid-off, and it's going to go to the boundary as well. A first boundary in T20 international cricket for the left-hander, elegantly played away, and the dive from Brook in vain. 114 for 2.
Yeah, a signal of his batting this summer in the domestic game has been the timing. Here he steps outside leg stump, and Moeen Ali tries to follow him, firing the ball down the leg side, but he's took a significant enough jump towards the leg side to be able to manoeuvre his hands through the ball through extra cover.
There's an aggressive hike into the leg side, out towards Alex Hales, who picks up on the long on boundary, and the score 115 for 2. Coming in at you'd be someone that would come in at 3 or 4, Heather, at this position. Not you, Finney. Stop it. When you've got this sort of platform, do you feel that added pressure? Here comes Moeen Ali to bowl to Rizwan on 66, looking to sweep hard. Will just pick up the 1 run as Brook picks up at deep mid-wicket.
I think it gives you a bit of freedom actually, because you go out there, the base is set, you don't have to sort of try and balance rebuilding. If you've lost a few wickets with attack, you can just go all out attack, take a few balls still to get yourself in. I think sometimes you can go a little bit too hard when you have had that really big base, so taking a few balls to get in and just have that freedom to go out there and be really aggressive and obviously try and get to the total that is appropriate.
Oh, should be a stumping, it is. Moeen Ali sees Rizwan advancing and just drops it a bit short, a bit quicker, and as Rizwan charges down the track, beats the bat through to the gloves of Salt, who has those bails off in no time. A 3rd wicket falls, and it's the big one. Rizwan gone for 68, 117 for 3.
It's a sign of the last 4 or 5 overs actually. It just takes a slight bit of turn out of the foot marks. Moeen Ali pushing this one through quicker and seeing Rizwan advancing down the wicket, and Rizwan can't get anything on it, and Phil Salt takes a smart take behind the stumps and whips the bails off, and Rizwan stood dumbfounded in the middle of the pitch. He was put under pressure, I feel, by his partners in the last couple of partnerships, where he's been forced to try and accelerate the run rate around them, but he falls for 68 from 46. An impressive innings, but just the wicket that England would have wanted with 5.2 overs remaining.
Yeah, he took a bit of stick actually. He was top scorer in the Asia Cup, striking at 117. He got a bit of stick for not scoring fast enough along with Babar Azam, and he's batted brilliantly today, striking at 148. And a really classic Rizwan innings, just using his wrist, manoeuvring the field around and hitting the ball nicely into gaps, but really smart bowling that from Moeen Ali, just bringing his length back slightly, finding a little bit of turn, and nicely taken by Phil Salt behind the sticks today.
Well, we see Iftikhar Ahmed come to the middle, a decent time for him in the Asia Cup. Scored 32 against Sri Lanka, and it was ultimately a losing cause in that Asia Cup for Pakistan, with Chris Silverwood, Sri Lanka lifting the trophy. Here comes Moeen Ali, very wide outside the off stump. Oh, hold on a minute. Phil Salt thinks he might have stumped Iftikhar first ball, who's looking at the square leg umpire with horror, wondering if he has lifted that back leg, because it was very wide, so wide almost as to make it feel like it was such a non-event as a delivery, almost dead ball-ish, if you know what I mean. But they'll have to go upstairs and check this.
I think it will be a wide. It was outside the tram lines and just looked really innocuous, and Salt just whipped off the bails, and he's absolutely convinced.
Finney, what's going on here then?
I'm not sure why the third umpire wouldn't check this, because you can still be out-stumped from a wide, can't you?
Well, Phil Salt's asking that exact question. He says, well, yeah, maybe wide, but you can still be stumped from it.
He's very salty with that, isn't he?
Oh, come on. Well, he's asking the question of Alim Dar now. And I suppose the question is, possibly once it's been signalled wide, is that dead ball?
I don't think his foot's left the crease as well.
Anyway, we carry on. This is a quicker delivery from Moeen on the pads. Iftikhar will pick up a single into the leg side out towards David Willey. And the score is 119 for 3. Well, here we go. This will tell us. Salt is, well, he's trying to wait for that foot to rise. And I'm not sure he did, actually. I admire the ambition. I did not admire the joke.
Come on, that's one of your classic ones. Try out your bit.
Moeen bowling to Shan Masood, who whips that ball out towards deep mid-wicket. And a single is taken. That will conclude the over. Current run rate will see Pakistan up to 160. They can go at 10s. That'll take them to 170. You get the idea. Right, 120 for 3 after 15. And Atif Nawaz is standing by. But Shan Masood, Finney, prior to this year, not really pulling up any trees in T20 cricket, but averaging 39 this year, gets an opportunity, and rightly so.
Yeah, he's played with great intent this year, even in the 4-day games that I have played against him this summer. He came out and scored quickly and looked to impose himself upon the bowlers. He's a tall man, 6'3" or 6'4", and well built, so he can be quite a scary person to bowl to when he's in the mood, and he certainly made himself that difficult person to bowl to this season, which has been a nice change, because I played against him when I was 19, so I've known him all the way through.
Rashid Khan in, reverse sweep from Sean, is scooped up straight in the air, and the catch is taken. And short fine leg up inside the circle. It's Shan Masood who has to go on debut. He's gone for 7 from 7. Disappointment on his face as he walks off, but Adil Rashid has a second wicket, 2 for 22 for him so far. Pakistan 120 for 4 off 15.1 overs.
It looked as though it was another googly from Adil Rashid. Gets that overspin on the ball, which means it bounces, and when you're trying to sweep against that kind of delivery, it can bounce up and take the top edge. And Shan Masood switching his feet around to try and hoik that over the short third fielders for 4. Couldn't quite manage it, can only manage a top edge. And Richard Gleeson takes a simple catch that for a moment I was worried it was going to pop out, because he looks so casual underneath it.
Yeah.
And you know, you've got I think Karachi has the lights that go all the way around. They're not pillars, they're lights that go all the way around, and it's just constantly in your eye line. So it was a casual catch, but he managed to hold on. And again, another important wicket for England in their attempt to try and stem the flow of runs.
Well, it's typical, isn't it, Heather? I just did copious amounts of research on Shan Masood and his terrific run for Derbyshire and Balochistan and all these other teams he's played for, and he's out first ball when I come in.
We've got 6 matches left, so
yeah,
I
that's
reckon
true. We'll save it.
You might be okay.
We'll save it, indeed.
Hopefully gets another go.
Now then, Mohammad Nawaz is the new batter. He's had a very, very impressive innings against India in the Asia Cup, scoring 42 off 18 deliveries. As Iftikhar drives the next ball to extra cover. David Willey behind it, no run. 120 for 4 Pakistan remain. 28 balls to come in this innings. It's Adil Rashid's googly that's caused these Pakistani batters all sorts of trouble. Here he is again. There was another googly, not picked by Iftikhar, but he gets a thick inside edge. It's trickling away towards the fine leg boundary. It's Gleeson again in pursuit, and he does get to the ball. They managed to get through for 2 runs.
Some significant turn here for Adil Rashid, and bounce, it just catches the inside edge. So not buys or anything, but the batters aren't picking it at the moment. Comes down scrambled seam and is just angling in towards those stumps, cramping them for room. Not comfortable at all. They've got 3 more balls of Adil Rashid's spell to see off.
Iftikhar on strike, a slip in place as well, as that ball's a little bit shorter. Iftikhar able to just flat bat it down to long on. Another single to the score. I guess Mohammad Nawaz will be on strike now. He'll be looking at the pitch with mixed feelings, just looking at the way it's turning for Adil Rashid, thinking, okay, I'll have a bit of that when I'm having a bowl. Perhaps Barber in the dugout, feeling good about including Usman Qadir, the leg spinner, in the lineup as well today, Heather.
Yeah, found a bit of purchase today. Has Adil Rashid, he's bowled beautifully, particularly with his googly, found a little bit more turn from that delivery. So the Pakistani spinners will definitely be looking forward to bowling on this.
1, 2, 3 for 4, the score. That ball's been swept hard out towards the leg side boundary. There is a fielder out there, and that's a terrific effort in the deep. Harry Brook out there, preventing what looked like a surefire boundary. Brilliant effort in the deep to get the throw back in.
They've just faltered a bit here, Pakistan. They were 109 for 1, so 3 quick wickets for England has really helped. And England haven't been as strong at the death, so taking these 3 wickets into that period, into the last 4 overs, really will help to hopefully stem the flow of runs from the Pakistani lower order.
I beg your pardon, it was Luke Wood out there on the boundary who did that piece of fielding. Outstanding. In comes Rashid to Nawaz, who just defends back to the bowler. It's really been an outstanding spell, this, from the Yorkshire leg spinner. 4 overs, 2 for 27. Bear in mind, a lot of that he had to bowl to informed batters, Rizwan, Barber. He finishes with a very, very pleasing return there. And certainly, maybe it's not going to be all the batter's way on the surface in Karachi, Finney.
No, it seems to have changed, doesn't it, relatively quickly. The wicket looked like glass when they first walked out there, and the way that Rizwan and Bubba played in those opening overs, just hit through the line of the ball and used the pace. Looked as though it was going to be an absolute belter, but as we've moved through this innings and those 2 batters have got out, it's been tricky going for everyone that's come and gone since. Haider 11 from 13, Shah Masood 7 from 7, Iftikhar's 4 from 4, and Nawaz 2 from 2, I think indicates how this surface maybe is just that little bit slower than we anticipated. The England bowlers have adjusted the way that they've bowled. The seamers have bowled more into the surface and a lot more slower balls than you would usually think would be necessary on a wicket that would be as good as we thought it was. So it's going to be interesting to see what methods or what plans they go with here.
David Willey back into the attack. It's a good length, just defended by Iftikhar. Back to the bowler. 125 for 4 Pakistan after 16.1 overs. There's a great crowd in. I saw some pictures on social media of people queuing up for hours to get into the stadium. Takes a long time, a lot of security to get through. But once you're in there, it's quite a spectacular atmosphere.
Yeah, I've been there for a game, PSL final in 2018.
Willie in, this ball's been smashed down the ground by Iftikhar. Does it have the distance to clear long on comfortably? Goes over the dugout, in fact, for 6. It wasn't that short of a length. Iftikhar just got his bat under it, guided it over the dugout for 6. 1-3-1 for 4 off 16.2.
Yeah, we talked about that back of length and changes of pace into the wicket, or being really full. David Willey is neither there. He's on a length with pace on. Iftikhar receives that gift gratefully and lashes it over the bowler's head. And now pressure is on David Willey here to try and find a response to that with 4 balls remaining in this over.
It was a third 6 of the innings. Iftikhar into double figures. He's on 10 off 6. Willey in. This is short. It's been pulled by Iftikhar. Not really timed. Picks out the fielder at deep backward square leg. It's Luke Wood again. Just a single to the score.
Oh, sorry.
That's right.
Just on Finney's point about the pitch, actually, you can see how it's changed. It was sort of glass-like, but round the edges, you can just see how it's started to crumble a little bit. Suggests it might be a little bit tacky. And usually when that happens to a pitch, it's going to turn. So I'm expecting a lot of cutters and slower balls from the England bowlers to try and restrict Pakistan, and we haven't quite seen that so far from David Willey.
When you say tacky, you mean sort of it's coming apart slightly?
Yeah, a little bit more of
it's
moisture.
Not dressed garishly in brand names and things like that. This is short. It's been guided, but stopped at backward point. Terrific fielding on the edge of the square there. Luke Wood again. The ball's just following him around at the moment. Single taken though. 133 for 4. And I suppose when it starts crumbling like that, just coming apart slightly, they don't use hybrid pitches in Karachi. There's a little bit more there for the bowlers.
Yeah, a little bit. Can tend to stick in the surface a little bit. We haven't really seen that for the seamers. It looked very nice to bat against the seamers, but just for the spinners, potentially it's held a little bit, started to grip. So yeah, cutters from seamers, I imagine, will be the order of the day.
Willie in again. This is full and fast, dug out, down to long off. Just another single. One of those projected scores have come down a long way for Pakistan. If they were to go at 11 and over from here, they'd finish in 169, which may well still be competitive. We don't know too much about what will be a good score here. In the PSL, you'd frequently see scores in excess of 180 scored at the National Stadium in Karachi. Mohammad Nawaz, the left-hander, on strike. There's his tongue sticking out. 134 for 4. In comes Willie. This is down the leg side. It'll be called a wide. Alim Dar, he's always got this expression when he signals a wide, like he's really disappointed in you as a bowler.
It's another minute for him out on the pitch. He's not going to be happy with that.
He's become a bit of a mainstay in this Pakistan side, has Mohammad Nawaz, in the last few tournaments, putting in strong efforts with bat and ball. Good value. David Willey in again, another wide down the leg side. Got to be careful not to give too much away here, David Willey. It is tough. It's very, very hot out there. You see the players, they were perspiring when the national anthems were playing, so never mind. Almost 17 overs into this game. He's almost gasping for air. Moeen Ali's done really well. He doesn't seem to be perspiring too much.
That's the advantage of being captain. You can just plonk yourself in the ring somewhere. Hide out the way of all the heavy lifting out on the boundary.
David Willey in again to Nawaz. Low full toss, been driven down to long on. And, fielded by Alex Hills. Just a single to the score. England have done really well here these past 7 overs just to pull Pakistan back. 137 for 4. 3 overs to come. Iftikhar on 12 off 8. Nawaz on 4 off 4. This match is taking place at the National Stadium in Karachi. Mentioned many times, 17 years since an England team visited Pakistan. Last time Marcus Trescothick was the captain for England, and Inzamam ul Haq was the captain for Pakistan. Feels like yesterday.
Yes, well, I say it doesn't quite for me because I'd have only been a youngster then. But yeah, it's incredible, really, isn't it, to think that there's been no cricket there for 17 years for England, and it's amazing. It really is amazing to see them there now.
But players like yourself, Finney, who've been out there for the PSL and things like that, I mean, they've been instrumental really in kind of encouraging the team to get back over there. As Luke Wood is back into the attack, and he's bowled him! Big swing from Mohammad Nawaz, no connection, and Luke Wood has a wicket on his T20 international debut. Knocks that off stump out of the ground, and he silenced the crowd at the National Stadium in Karachi. 137 for 5 now, Pakistan. Luke Wood, there's a moment he'll want to remember.
Yeah, Nawaz just looking to smash this miles, wasn't it? It wasn't a Yorker, it was full of a length. It hits off stump halfway up. The slight little bit of angle or drift back in towards the stumps, and as we've seen him do so often in the 100 and in the domestic T20 this year, full, quick, straight, with a little bit of movement, does the trick again for Luke Wood, and he takes his first international T20 wicket. Again, an important time for England. You still want to take wickets through this period of play. Those are ultimately what slow the scoring rate down the most, and with 2.5 overs to go, to have batter number 7 in and potentially 8 and 9, 10 to come, England will feel as though they're in a good position to try and restrict Pakistan to something that could be easily chaseable.
Well, you never forget your first though, do you? Heather, do you remember your first international wicket?
I do. I was bowling seam actually, so it was in South Africa. Brits, the captain at the time, caught mid off.
Finney?
Not quite as spectacular as that one. Stump out of the ground.
Yeah, I had the Bangladeshi night watchman, the famous actually batter Shahadat Hussain, caught at second slip for my first international wicket.
It's not bad. Cracking bat.
Yeah. I think he averages less than me in Test cricket, which actually says a lot.
Well, it's Hush Shah, the new batter, out in the middle. He's had a difficult campaign in the Asia Cup, save for one performance. He drives a full toss down the ground to long off for a single. He did score an 80-plus innings against Hong Kong in the Asia Cup. But I want to see more better than that from him. 27 years of age, big expectations on the low order batter. England have done really, really well here, it has to be said. The second half of this innings, everything post that first partnership really, it's been all England, Heather.
Yeah, it has, and I really like the look of Luke Wood actually. He looks like a real competitor, and he actually rushed Nawaz there with a ball that just skidded through.
Wood with another quick delivery, wide of off stump. It's been dug out by Iftikhar out towards deep extra cover. David Willey fields just another single to the score. 139 for 5. 15 deliveries remaining in this innings. Mohammad Nawaz will look back on that shot and think, maybe I'll leave that one on the golf range. Yeah, I'm blaming golf for that shot for sure.
Is he a big golfer?
They do. I mean, a lot of this Pakistan team, much like the England team, like their golf. Luke Wood, and again, this is short. It's just been guided off the back foot, wide of point. They'll run through for a single. There's so much. I mean, golf. What has golf ever really done for cricket? Is what I want to say. I mean, Johnny Bairstow is not playing this series because of golf. Surely that is enough reason to get rid of golf.
Well, you're a golfer, Finney?
Well, you've got an England captain sat here. She can set the rules. She can tell her team not to play golf if she so wishes. I've heard a lot of players actually say it helps. I know a lot of T20 batters that will go and have 9 holes in the morning of a T20 game to just loosen themselves up to go and biff people down the ground. It works both ways.
Luke Wood, and again another excellent delivery, full and fast, right on that crease line. Iftikhar can do nothing but dig it out. Another dot ball.
Just on the golf, I think it definitely helps with your ball striking. Probably not in the longer forms of the game, but certainly in T20 cricket. I agree with Finney. I've played a few times on either the night before or the day of a game just to sort of relax, take your mind off the cricket, and also to get your body going. And we're both well past 30 now, and you need those little things sometimes to get you loose and get you ready to perform on the cricket pitch.
All right, golf can stay. 140 for 5. One more ball from Luke Wood. It's a low full toss. He's trying to hit the cover off that Iftikhar. Doesn't really time it. Goes down to long off. Alex Hills fields, and there is a single taken. So 141 for 5 Pakistan with 18 overs gone. There was a sign in the crowd just now that read, "We have 11 kings," preferably, but presumably referring to the Karachi Kings, who are the franchise who play at the National Stadium in Karachi. But they didn't have the best record in the previous edition of the PSL. Lost all but one match in their recent campaign. Not quite sort of Welsh Fire levels, but nearly.
Nearly, yeah. That wasn't great for the Welsh Fire, was it, in the men's version of the 100? But back to the golf very briefly.
Must we?
If we're judging by that rule, I should be able to hit a really good extra cover drive for 6, because that's the way I hit my golf balls, up over extra cover. Miles, by the way, for 6, but
you're getting inside it a bit too much.
Yeah, just a bit inside out on it. Yeah, but when I come to get a cricket bat in my hand, I can't quite seem to manage that shot.
Well, that's a high full toss from Sam Curran. It's been smashed high and long over the square leg boundary by Iftikhar for 6. And I suspect they might have a look at the height of that delivery as well. Just looked like it slipped out of the hand. Perhaps due coming into the equation. Iftikhar is waiting on the umpire. I think they're having a little chat, the square leg umpire. Now, let's have a look at that. Oh, I think he might just be okay. It's really borderline.
One of those marginal ones, isn't it? And it's a real gift by Sam Curran.
Looking at it side on.
Flick it around the corner. What are you saying? No ball?
Oh, I think so. From the side on, it looked like it was just above waist height. Finney, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'd be giving that a no ball. It's about belly button height, you'd have to say.
I think the umpire has let it go. This is full from Curran again. It's been awkwardly shoveled by Iftikhar out towards deep backward square leg. And another single to the score.
That's an unbelievable effort there to get away with that. Iftikhar's not happy. He's still remonstrating with Ali Imdar. It's his square leg friend, though, isn't it, that makes the call, not Ali Imdar himself. But yeah, from that angle there, it looks doesn't look great.
Yeah, I think from straight on, it looks quite borderline. Probably didn't refer it upstairs or anything like that. 148 for 5 the score. Sam Curran in. This is a slower ball. Completely outfoxes Hushtil, who was through his shot before the ball passed him. On the bounce through to the keeper, no run.
Just on the waist high no balls, I do think there must be a better way, a more precise way of being able to measure them. It's so subjective in terms of the trajectory of the ball, the height of the batter, and You use Hawkeye for obviously LBW decisions, front foot no balls. There must be a better way to measure it out on the pitch and use technology.
148 for 5. Pakistan, 9 balls to come. Here's Sam Curran. This is another slow ball. Rushdil waits on this one. Lofts it over the covers, but there is protection in the deep. David Willey gets the throwback, just a single. 149 for 5. Moeen Ali, the captain of England, must be very pleased with himself at the moment. Dew coming into the equation for sure. We saw that one slip out of the hand from Sam Curran. A below par total, we think, here from Pakistan. He'll be very pleased with his team's efforts here. England seamers have been mixing it up after the power play. Here's Sam Curran again. Short of a length, but gets away with it. Under edge on the bounce through to the keeper. And again, no run. As Iftikhar lets out a grunt of frustration. 149 for 5, the score remains. And that crowd, that boisterous crowd, has just quietened a little bit, hasn't it?
Yes, they seemed very happy with themselves, didn't they? After 6 overs, it was bouncing in there, but a period of quiet play. Iftikhar's played a couple of nice shots, but after putting Sam Curran under pressure, the first ball of the over, 1.1 has signified a good end to it so far.
Curran in again. This is short. It's been pulled, not timed again by Iftikhar. Out towards mid wicket. Harry Brook fields, and it's just a single. And the 150 comes up for Pakistan. 150 for 5 with 1 over remaining. There's a terrific return from Sam Curran as well. 4 overs, 1 for 30 for him on a surface that hasn't really been kind to the seamers mostly. He's had to go to a lot of variations. And been very, very effective again for England, Heather.
Yeah, it has, and I think Moeen Ali has been brilliant the way he's rotated his bowlers. I think he used Adil Rashid outstandingly, brought him into the attack to try and obviously break partnerships, which he did with that big-ish opening stand in the power play. And yeah, I think he's been very smart, and the bowlers look very clear on their plans. And we're going to see final over from Luke Wood. Could have been tempted to go to Richard Gleeson, but Wood's had a brilliant day.
And he comes to Iftikhar, who smashed this a long way up in the air and over the long off boundary for 6. He was waiting on that fuller length, sitting deep in his crease as Iftikhar. He got a hold of it as well. 156 for 5 now, Pakistan. Still 5 balls to come, and Luke Wood on debut under pressure.
Yeah, it's an attempted off cutter, but it's on a length and it doesn't really have enough pace off it to be able to trouble Iftikhar Ahmed, who hits the ball 91 metres back over Luke Wood's head. Again, it have to be either shorter or much fuller than that length there to be able to make that effective.
Wood into Iftikhar again. This is a full toss. It's been swatted high and long into the Karachi sky and into the hands of the waiting fielder on the boundary. It's Ben Duckett right on the edge. Takes the catch. And Iftikhar's innings comes to an end. Pakistan faltering now then. Iftikhar hasn't quite walked off yet. I think he wants to have a look at Duckett's feet. If he's claimed it though, I'm pretty confident that'll be given out. The umpires are having a little chat. Oh, well, he wants to check for the height, I think, of that ball.
Yeah, another one just slipping out of the hands. Full toss from Luke Wood. I think that one's okay. A little bit lower than the one we saw that wasn't a no ball earlier in the previous over. And Ben Duckett completes the catch out there on the boundary. Yeah, very relaxed.
Nothing wrong with the catch. I don't think there's anything wrong with the height of that one. It's less so than the previous one anyway.
Yeah, that's a knee-high fully. I think the one before was a no ball if we look back and reflect, but that one there, a knee-high full toss. Iftikhar would have thought when he'd hit that he'd got enough of it, but Ben Duckett takes a clever catch side on about half a metre inside the boundary to remove Iftikhar Ahmed, who scored 28 from 17 balls, provided some good impetus towards the back end of the Pakistan innings. With 4 balls remaining, Luke Wood now has his second T20 international wicket, and he's got 4 balls at Naseem Shah.
Yeah, I believe.
Oh, they haven't changed the rules yet, have they?
They haven't, so he's not going to be facing. He'll be the non-strikers.
Fair enough, sorry.
Big chair when he came on there, Naseem Shah. As Wood into Rushdil, who smashes this ball down the ground. I think it's going to go to long on the bounce. It does, just the one. So now Luke Wood will get a chance to bowl to Naseem Shah. And there's a sense of anticipation in the National Stadium, Karachi. The last time they watched Naseem Shah bat, he was hitting 2 consecutive sixes to win Pakistan a match they had no right to win against Afghanistan in the Asia Cup. 9 down they were in that match. And Naseem Shah hit 2 sixes in the last over from out of nowhere.
He's got a promotion as well, though.
He has. He's made his way up from number 11. Luke Wood now into Naseem Shah. This is short. Naseem Shah pulls. And the catch is taken. It's Sam Curran at deep square leg who ran in and made sure he got underneath that. Luke Wood has a 3rd wicket on debut. Naseem Shah goes for a first ball dug. Pakistan falling to pieces here. 157 for 7. Still 3 balls to come in the last over.
Into the pitch, slightly pace off. Naseem Shah swings a big hearty swing at the back towards the leg side, but it can only be spliced out to Sam Curran at deep square leg, who takes a smart catch running forward and tumbling forward. Maybe a slightly unnecessary dive, but they all look good on the TV cameras. But Naseem Shah departs first ball. Luke Wood with his 3rd wicket of the evening, and he's had a very tidy return thus far. 3 for 23 from 3.4 overs, and with 2 more big slogs coming, you'd imagine there's an opportunity for him to add to his wicket tally.
Yeah, Usman Qadir, the new batter. And Luke Wood, well, he likes Karachi, I can tell you that. And he comes now to Hushdil, who slams this ball down the ground to long off, where it's fielded by Harry Brooks. So just a single. It's been excellent from Luke Wood after conceding the 6th first ball. He's gone wicket 1, wicket dot. I beg your pardon, that's incorrect. He just took a single, so that's a... Oh, I beg your pardon, they did not take the single to long on, so Hushdil turned down the single so he could keep the strike for the last ball.
You don't mind that when you're a bowler. Dot ball in the last over.
Wow. Hushdil on strike. Here's Luke Wood for the last ball. It's full and fast. It's been dug out to long on. Hales fields, so it's just a single. And that completes the Pakistan innings. 158 for 7 after 20 overs. England have been absolutely outstanding. Pakistan look poised to build a big total with Rizwan and Babar going big guns. But in the last 30 balls, they've managed to take 4 wickets, concede just 38 runs. And Moeen Ali's men walk off the field, certainly in control, Heather Knight.
An outstanding drag back by England. Death bowling probably hasn't been their strength, you'd say, in the last 18 months. So to do that, to take 4 wickets of the death and only go for 38 runs in those 30 balls, outstanding. Luke Wood has had a brilliant day on debut, taking 3 wickets. He's bowled with pace and aggression and really put the Pakistani batters under pressure. Adil Rashid as well, 2 for 27. He was brilliant through those middle overs, taking some key wickets, including that of the captain, Babar Azam.
Yeah, absolutely. Big wickets for Adil Rashid and a memorable debut for Luke Wood. 3 wickets for him, 2 for Rashid. Rizwan with 68, the top scorer for Pakistan. Babar 31 off 24. Heather 11 off 13. And Shan Masood went for a run of ball 7. Iftikhar 28 off his 17 balls. Mohammad Nawaz 4 off 5. Hushdil off 5 off 7, not out in the end. Usman Qadir didn't face a delivery, and Naseem Shah went first ball. So 158 for 7.
Right then, our attention is on the National Stadium in Karachi, because it is the return at the top of the order of Alex Hales. He has been out of action for England for almost 1,300 days. But back from the wilderness, an England side that, in the absence of Jos Buttler in the short term and in the slightly longer term, Johnny Bairstow, it will be a welcome return as Hales will be facing Naseem Shah, the 19-year-old speed sensation from Pakistan. And really exciting to see him in the side. He's going to bowl 1 delivery, and then we'll have Atif in the commentary position, but driven away into the offside and driven away for runs. Well, that's quite a statement from Phil Salt, crunching it through the covers. England 4 without loss. Some more from you, Paul Farbrace, and then it'll be Atif Nawaz.
Well, there's nothing better for an opening batsman to get a wide, full half volley that just swings into your arc, that you can just steer through the offside. Phil Salt not trying to overhit that, just use the pace of the ball. And I talked early on that it looks as though, and the way that the innings played out, it looks as though the best time to bat is against the new ball, when the ball's just skidding onto the bat nicely, and Salt's played that beautifully.
Naseem now into Salt. Back of a length, outside edge, and it flies away towards the deep third boundary. There's a tumbling stop down there. They only get the single for it. A little bit of encouragement from Naseem Shah. Obviously no slip in place at the moment.
No, I think that's absolutely flown off the outside edge. Nazim Shah has got plenty of pace. We've seen that this summer in his brief time at Gloucestershire. He has got genuine pace, and not the tallest bowler, but he hits the pitch hard and has got the thick outside edge just flown down to third man.
Yeah, Usman Qadir, the man in the deep, doing the fielding. And here we go, Alex Hales on strike. Well, Ben Stokes got the documentary treatment this summer. I think I'd quite like to see a documentary about Alex Hales. You feel like this would be one of the climactic scenes, wouldn't you? As Naseem Shah into Hales, that's down the leg side. It's been glanced a little bit. It's run away to the boundary. Will it be wides? Will it be leg bys? Wait for the umpire signal. I get a feeling that it was wides. Yeah, it has been signalled wides by the umpire. Thought it might have just glanced a bit of trousers or something on its way, but it didn't. Naseem Shah struggling to control that swing a little bit early. Alex Hales gets to have a look at one.
You're very eagle-eyed. I thought that had fluked the pad. You've done well there, calling that as wides. Tough on the keeper. Absolutely no chance for Rizwan to get anywhere near that. It just kept swinging, didn't it? Leg side, and just kept shaping away. 4 handy runs, though.
Hedged my bets there. That's what I did, Paul. This is full and fast from Naseem. Wide of off stump, and Hales sort of just reaching for that a little bit. Got through very quickly, 143 kilometers per hour. Hales didn't really get near the pitch of that ball. That's what he needs to do, Naseem, is just get a few dot balls through. I'm sure there's a couple of butterflies for Alex Hales back in an England shirt.
Definitely. Yes, I mean, it doesn't matter how often you've played. If you're coming back in after a long absence, he'll be wanting to play well. He'll just be wanting to get bat on ball and score some runs here.
10 for no loss. In comes Naseem. Back of a leg. That's been hammered by Alex Hales through the covers. That is a trademark Alex Hales shot. Just hits the ball very, very hard through that fielder at point. And it goes to the boundary for 4. Hales is off and running.
You're absolutely right. It is trademark. It's exactly what you would... If I was describing to someone Alex Hales, who you hadn't seen him bat, he stands tall at the crease, he uses his long arms and his reach, and if anything, he stays slightly leg side of it and just opens up the offside to score. And anywhere between extra cover and backward point is a key scoring area for him.
He's one of the most destructive batters in the world. In comes Naseem, this one driven on the up off a thick outside edge, and Usman Qadir is up inside the circle now at short third. Fields, there is no run. It's been quite the journey for Alex Hales. He's been smiling all week in his England training tops. You see a lot of social media videos that the various cricket boards put out. He's smiling, he's happy to be there, exchanging pleasantries with the Pakistani players. Of course, they see a lot of each other now with so many Pakistani players playing in the county cricket setup. Here's Naseem now for the final ball of the first over. There's a short outside off and it takes a top edge, but just dies on its way through to Rizwan on the bounce. And that ends an eventful first over. 14 for no loss. England made a good start, at least on paper, to this chase. 159 the target.
Yeah, an excellent start for England there. Both batsmen will be pleased. They've got a boundary away, and it just shows the quality of the surface against the new ball. It was interesting hearing Heather and Finney talking about how England bowlers in particular, who've taken a bit of criticism for their death bowling recently, how their skills change. Adapting is a key thing. And when your bowlers can adapt very quickly in a T20 game, as England did there, I thought they learned quickly. They worked out that the lengths you've got to bowl, taking the pace off, bowling the ball into the surface. Adil Rashid obviously outstanding. Luke Wood fantastic. And 159 to win. At halfway, it looked as though Pakistan were going to be getting much closer to 200. I think England restricted them to 72 off the last 10, which is fantastic bowling. Absolutely. And it was interesting to hear the two of them talking about how they restricted them, why they restricted them, and it'd be interesting to see whether the Pakistan team have learnt from that. But a great start for England. 14 off the first over, both batsmen getting the boundary away.
And Mohammad Nawaz is going to open the bowling. And he comes. The ball's been driven to extra cover. They think about taking the single. Barber doesn't collect cleanly, but he does enough to keep Salt in his crease. It's a dot ball. And we've seen Pakistan open with spinners before. Imad Wasim in previous times. Mohammad Hafiz before that as well. Mohammad Nawaz given the task of carrying the new ball. Back of a length this time. It's been cut nicely, but can't beat extra cover. Again, there is no run. Couple of dots here. That Phil Salt has faced. Really got a hold of that, but Heather Ali firmly behind it in the covers. Here's Nawaz again. Back of a length once more. Cut quite nicely again to Heather Ali in the cover. He's applauded by the crowd there as well. 3 dots in a row here for Mohammad Nawaz, looking to build a little bit of pressure on Phil Salt. Salt's on 5 off 5 at the moment. $14-0 loss England after 1.3. Here's Nawaz again. This time it'll be a 4th consecutive dot ball for Mohammad Nawaz, as Salt happy to just push that ball back down the wicket to the bowler, whose efforts are already being appreciated by the crowd here. They haven't had much to cheer about for the last sort of 45 minutes or so. 4 dots here, a bit of pressure. Does Salt look to go big? Nawaz in again. This is short, and this time Salt able to just squeeze that ball down to long on and get a single to end that succession of dot balls. 15-0 loss England after 1.5.
There's a really interesting passage of play there, because you always feel when you have a succession of dot balls in T20, something's going to happen, something's going to have to give. And actually I thought Salt played that really well. He didn't panic, he showed a bit of calmness there, which for someone with not a lot of international experience, that was very impressive. And I know that Matthew Mott will be looking at that and thinking, actually that's a good sign. Under pressure, he maintained his shape, he didn't lose his shape, he didn't just have a big slog, and he was happy to get a single away. So that's a really good learning from a coach watching a player in that situation.
There we go. Nawaz versus Hales. Hales on strike. Nawaz in. And again, Alex Hales happy to just defend that back to the bowler. It's a terrific over from Mohammad Nawaz, just a single off it. England 15-0 loss after 2 overs. As you say, there's a bit of a subplot in play here as well, Paul, with these 2 batters. Likely one of them's going to be starting for England in that World T20. I mean, you think Joss Buttler is going to be opening.
Definitely.
So it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's almost a straight shootout between these 2.
Absolutely it is. And don't rule out David Malan, because David Malan also loves to open the batting. He thinks he does his best work as an opening batsman. There's no better time to bat in T20 cricket than open. I was always the advocate for Joss Buttler to open the batting, and I was in the minority when he started. Everyone kept telling me he's a great finisher, but your best batsman should face the most balls, and Joss Buttler is one of England's greatest batsmen, and he's proved that he is a fantastic T20 striker. I had to argue, even with Mahela Jayawardene when he was at Mumbai Indians, that it was the best place to bat with him. Open the batting, that's where he should bat.
Yeah, he did all right opening this season, didn't he? In comes Dahani now for his first over. His first ball's just been guided to cover, and there is no run. Shahnawaz Dahani, a very exciting player, but yes, absolutely. I mean, you want your best player to bat. I mean, it must have been sweet vindication for you when Joss Buttler did what he did this season.
Well, you don't always get it right, do you? I mean, I'm happy to tell you about the ones I get right. I won't be boring you with 150 I got wrong. Let me tell you on that score.
I wouldn't dare point them out, Paul. I wouldn't dare. Right, Shahnawaz Dahani, another in what feels like a conveyor belt of fast bowlers coming out of Pakistan. And he comes, this is Fall's been driven on the up and over the fielder at mid-off inside the circle. Couple of bounces, 4 down to long off. Salt getting into his work nicely. England 19-0 loss of 2.2 overs.
Magnificent cricket shot that from Phil Salt. Kept his shape. He hits the ball so cleanly. He's one of the cleanest strikers I've had the pleasure of watching, and I really enjoy watching the way that he plays. He's someone that I think is an absolutely outstanding talent, and just use the pace. And again, I go back to the point that Finney and Heather were making about bowling the ball into the surface, maybe bowling cutters, but you've got to bowl it into the pitch.
Here's Dahani now into Salt. This is shorter. It's been pulled away towards that fielder at deep square leg, and the catch is taken. Spectacular. He was so close to clipping his heels on that advertising sponge. Makes no mistake in the end. Believe that's Usman Qadir out in the deep who took the catch. And it's Phil Salt who has to go. He'll feel terrible about that because he middled it. Just didn't get enough distance. England lose their first wicket, 19 for 1 of 2.3 overs.
It's a magnificent catch. It really is a fantastic catch in the deep. Dahani there celebrating and delighted, but he's bowled a long hop that Salt has absolutely smashed flat, and it's a brilliant catch just above head height, both feet off the ground, inches from the boundary rope. It really is not only a brilliant catch, but the athleticism and balance and skill not to then slide into the boundary rope. Fantastic. And I'll leave Finney to talk about it later, but it does always make me laugh when bowlers bowl long hops, he gets smashed to deep square leg, and they celebrate it as though it was the best plan they could ever have come up with. But then again, it's a tough game, isn't it, T20 international cricket? So you do have to cut them a little bit of slack from time to time.
You do indeed. It was Heather Ali, I beg your pardon, with that catch. Absolutely outstanding. He looked like he was doing salsa moves there on the boundary, avoiding the boundary sponge. And well, Salt is back in the pavilion, and it's David Malan who comes in at number 3. He said he quite likes to open the batting. He's there almost as a de facto opener in over number 3 for England. He's been so good this summer as well for England in white ball cricket. Well, not just this summer, but for quite a while.
Yeah, he's a fantastic player, David Malan. He does get a little bit of criticism from time to time, but I'm a big fan. I like the way that he plays. I think he's a very intelligent batter. He uses the power play well. He times his shots. He's got the power when he needs it for late on in the innings, and he really is a high-quality player. He truly is a player that really knows his game, and he expects to score runs, but he's got a very good understanding of his game.
Now then, Dahani into Malan, beats the outside edge. Oh, did he take the outside edge? I don't think it did. There's a big celebration from Dahani. There was sort of half a celebration from Rizwan, and Babar Azam very quickly says to him, get back to your mark, calm down.
Well, good luck there for Aleem Dar. Aleem Dar, one of the best umpires in world cricket, one of the best decision makers in world cricket. If he heard a faint outside nick in that in this noise from the crowd, and having been in Karachi when it's absolutely full and the crowd are absolutely buzzing, how umpires ever hear any nicks, I'll never know. I'll absolutely know. It looks like he's missed that by about 3 inches.
Yeah, there was daylight between ball and bat there.
I was just starting to doubt myself, talking David Malan up, then he nicks his first ball, but fortunately he hasn't.
Dahani into Malan again, a bit fuller onto his pads, and Malan works that away to deep backward square leg. He's off the mark with that single. Dahani getting his pace up. He's up to 139 kilometers per hour there. Yeah, a long way wide of the outside edge, that previous appeal. He's got a lot of exuberance, does Dahani.
It's fantastic though, isn't it? I mean, it's, you know, Rizwan saying, I thought I heard something, the bowler's excited, but that's what the pressure of a big game does. And it's then interesting how the batsman then copes with that. A lot of noise around him. Do you block it out? Do you get caught up in the moment? Alex Hales looks very calm, very confident here.
Yeah, he's on 4 or 5 at the moment. England 20 for 1 ball to come in the third over. Dahani runs in, he bowls to Hales. This is full, it's been driven beautifully by Alex Hales, beats the dive of the extra cover fielder, and it runs away to the boundary for 4. England 24 for 1 off 3. We're getting glimpses of the old Alex Hales we're so used to seeing, just stepping across his crease and guiding it nicely, not overhitting it, just guiding it nicely past the extra cover fielder.
Absolutely, and again, it's just that he always looks to me that when he's playing well, his swing of his arms absolutely magnificent. He stands very upright, very still, head brilliantly positioned and balanced, and just lets his hands go through the line of the ball. We've seen the trademark shot you described earlier where he cut the ball wide of off stump for 4, and that one he's just hit through extra cover. When Alex Hales is playing well, extra cover, backward point, there is areas where he scores really well. Then he actually, if you go a bit straight to him, he pulls really well. So as a tall man, he uses that reach, he uses that swing really well. And there isn't anything finer in terms of seeing a batsman standing up majestically, just timing the ball through the offside. He looks very fluent here. He looks like he really is at his best.
Yeah, he's looking ominous for Pakistan already. England 24 for 1. They need a further 135 runs off 102 balls on what has largely been a good batting surface. Here's Nawaz again. His first ball of his second over, just been worked down to long on for a single. Terrific first over from Nawaz, just the single from it. Now he's got a bowl to Alex Hales. He's on 8 off 6, looking to find his groove, make an impression, to impress, make a case for himself.
Definitely, and it's a brilliant opportunity. This tour is about opportunity. You know, again, Heather and Finney talking Luke Wood up, how well he bowled at the end there and how skillful he was. These games are absolutely huge opportunities for players to show that not only have they got the skill, but they've got the temperament to play international cricket as well. And Luke Wood has done it. Malan, Hales, two experienced players, but they're there because of their temperament.
Nawaz into Hales, who makes a bit of room and cuts that past the diving fielder, extra cover. That's going to be another boundary for Alex Hales. Just waited on it and again just guided it. As we say, Paul, not looking to smash the cover off the ball. It was a deliberate attempt to just work it beyond the grasp of Babar Azam, who's there at extra cover, and get it to the boundary for 4. 4 more for England, 29 for 1.
Just gave himself a fraction of room, but just enough to be able to swing his arms and, as you say, steer the ball through the offside beautifully.
Nawaz in, down the track comes Hales, thick outside edge, past the diving fielder at point this time. There's a bit of a chase on in the covers. It's Heather Ali who makes a diving stop in the end, but they've run really, really well here. They've managed to get through for 3. Malan, they're committing to the danger end and making sure that the batters get through for that 3. Terrific running from this England pair. 32 for 1 now, 3.3 overs.
Really interesting though, that just gripped, didn't it? It was interesting. Stephen Finn was talking earlier about Adil Rashid's first wicket. The googly just gripped and turned a fraction. That one actually gripped then from Nawaz. He saw Hales coming down. He bowled it a little bit quicker into the pitch, and it backs up what Heather and Finney were saying earlier. If you bowl the ball into the surface, there is just a bit of grip for you there, and we saw that from the left arm spinner.
Nawaz into Malan, who works that to mid-on. There is no run. They're starting to hold up, and we still yet to see Usman Qadir feature, the leg spinner for Pakistan, given an opportunity here today in this first of 7 T20 internationals between England and Pakistan. Worked away past square leg that time by Malan, just a single for him. Heather Ali in the field again. It's been very, very involved so far. And a better over this for England off Nawaz. His first went for 1 and second's gone for 9 so far. Still a ball to come. Bright green shoes for Mohammad Nawaz, clashing awkwardly with the kit that they're wearing, I have to say. They might work with the actual kit, but this special commemorative kit, not doing those shoes any favours. This is back of a length, punched by Hales, only as far as mid-on. They don't take a single. That ends the 4th over of this England innings, 33 for 1 after 4.
You're not sure you're carrying off those bright green trainers then? You don't think that would be I think you'd look good in them.
Me,
I think
personally?
you could carry them off.
Yeah.
I think you could carry that. Some of us, maybe it's our time's gone, but I think for you, I think you could definitely carry those bright green trainers. I'm not sure about Stephen Finn charging down the hill at Hove in bright green trainers. I'm not sure they would quite look the same. But
do you know what, Paul? That is exactly the last push I needed to go and buy those bright green trainers. So I'm going to do it. Thank you. I hope you get commission on it.
Well, next time you're up on stage, I'd love to see you in bright green trainers. I think that'd be fantastic.
I'm going to do it.
You must have a big event. You're going to be live on stage shortly, and that must be a great opportunity for you to debut the bright green trainers.
They will indeed. They might
make sure you got no spikes in them though if you're going to be up on stage. Yeah. That's the only thing you might.
They don't
need to
like
take
that.
out.
The big theatres. They don't like you scrapping big chunks out of their wooden floorboards.
Good start this though for England. Although they've lost a wicket, a good positive start here.
Dahani in again, nearly gets the outside edge, beating the drive of Malan. He's enjoying this angle, bowling to the left-hander, taking it away from him. It's a dot ball, 33 for 1.
And that's an interesting point you make there, because it isn't swinging as much. It is the angle that's just going across the left-handed Malan, isn't it? So it's not really swinging the ball violently. It's more just pushing the ball across the left-hander and making it a little bit difficult for him to score against that delivery.
Yeah, there was a brief interruption there. I think Zainab Abbas is talking to the British High Commissioner, Christian Turner, but frankly, Paul Farbrish, with the greatest respect to him, I'm enjoying what you're saying more. As that ball's been driven by Malan, wide of the fielder at mid-off. It's Barber, who makes a tumbling stop, just a single for England, 34 for 1. And it's a great occasion, of course, this match. A good chance for everybody to say the right sort of things and get Pakistan back in the mix as an international venue hosting cricket. Of course, they're scheduled to host the next edition of the Champions Trophy in Pakistan, and a series like this will go a long way towards persuading teams to come over.
Absolutely, and it's, as you say, it's about saying the right thing, but actually this is about doing the right thing. And England England are doing the right thing. I was quite critical when they didn't go last year when they had the opportunity. They've done the right thing. They've gone, they're playing these games, and as we've heard, being looked after brilliantly.
Another good ball from Dahani, just cramping Hales for room. He gets a thick inside edge, and the ball stays just on the edge of the square. They run through for a quick single. There is a direct hit as well from Rizwan, but inconsequential. 35 for 1 after 4.3 overs. I believe the British High Commissioner is talking about a shirt that the players have, a specially made shirt that the England team have put together. They didn't wear it, obviously, but they're going to auction it off, and some of those proceeds are going to go to the Flood Relief Fund, which is ongoing, of course. Issues with the flood. It's great to see a lot of Pakistani fans smiling, enjoying the action, high quality cricket at the National Stadium in Karachi. England 35 for 1 of 4.3 overs. Malan on strike. Here's Dahani now, back of a length, pull shot from Malan, gets a hold of it as well, and it runs away to the mid-wicket boundary for 4. David Malan was looking to line up that one. He doesn't want to get too trapped in that channel, let the bowler settle, bowling away from him, and cashing in that time on a back of a length delivery. 39 for 1 England.
Absolutely, fantastic shot. And you're right, Dawani's going across Malan, and that one he's just bowled it a fraction shorter. And again, it just shows the high quality of stroke of that Malan has played, but it also shows the trust in the surface to be able to play that sort of shot where you're picking up a ball angled across you and whacking it over mid-wicket. Fantastic cricket shot that from David Malan. It just shows his quality. As I said, very experienced, very knowledgeable, knows his game, knows his strengths, and that's a very safe option for him.
It is indeed. He's on to 8 of 8. Dahani in. Slower ball from him, but well watched by Malan, who drives to point. Can't beat the fielder, so it won't be a run. 39 for 1. England's score remains.
You mentioned the terrible flooding that's happened in Pakistan. Obviously, that is absolutely horrible to see. And again, for someone that's been there, it's terrible to see what the damage and obviously loss of life that's caused. But I understand that the England team also have made a significant contribution to the flood appeal that they're making, which is not. And again, sport brings people together, doesn't it? It really does, and it's another great opportunity and another great reason for playing these games.
It most certainly is. There's Dahani in, thick outside edge, beats the fielder at short third. That's going to run away for 4 as well. Malan finding his groove now. England looking ominous. 43 for 1 off 5 overs. They're very much in control of this game. They may be making a few donations to help with the flood relief, but they're not making any donations to this Pakistan team on the field, making life very, very difficult for them. But yes, as you rightly say, Paul, I mean, they've been very, very supportive and helpful. They've put together all these videos and joined in the efforts to promote the game as well. Of course, proceeds from today's ticket sales going towards the Prime Minister's Fund for Flood Relief in Pakistan. A very worthy cause, of course. Right then, England very much in control. How do you see the next few overs going here? Give us your thoughts, and then Henry Moran's going to join you on commentary.
Well, I'm just thinking, actually, looking at my scorecard here, and that's just been backed up, that both teams, after 5 overs, 43 runs, England have lost a wicket, Pakistan were 43 for none. And we kept hearing from Finney and Heather as the innings went on how skillfully the England bowlers bowled to Pakistan batters in the back end of that innings. And I guess that the England team will have talked about, let's get as many runs as we can against the hardness of the new ball, Henry, and make sure that we don't leave too many late on. I would imagine that would be the game plan. And it would be interesting to see the more spin that comes into play, whether the ball does grip as much as we think it will do. There was just one ball there from Nawaz that did grip.
Ralph bowling. This is driven into the offside. Good tumbling stop will prevent the boundary, because during these power play overs, anything that beats the infield is typically going to head to the ropes. But a good stop from Shan to prevent 4 runs from the bat of Alex Hales, who looks as though he's never left Paul Fabris.
He's played brilliantly. He really has. I mean, as I said, I think when Hales is playing well, he stands tall. He doesn't fall over and get his head outside his feet. He stands tall. He stands upright. He uses his reach really well, and he pierces the offside. He just uses the pace of the ball. And we've seen him play 2 or 3 fantastic shots.
Ralph bowling. Hales just shoveling that ball into the leg side with, I'm not sure any bat actually, it might just have come off the pads, and the umpire is doing that thing you often see an umpire do, which is slightly hitching the bottom of his trousers up to allow for the flexibility to then lift the knee.
That's real detail, that is for me.
You know what I mean, though,
I
don't
do.
you?
Exactly. As I saw you starting to gesture towards your leg, I knew exactly what you're going to talk about. Fantastic detail.
Right then, England in a decent position. They have lost the one wicket, Phil Salt out, but they've got a good batting lineup and plenty of depth in there with the likes of Duckett, Brooke, Moeen, Sam Curran, David Willey. Luke Wood can hit the ball a long way as well. There's these two they'll be hoping can do the bulk of the work here. Milan's on 12, he's on strikers. Harris Ralph is in over the wicket, big swing, and it goes flying past the bat of David Milan and through to the gloves of Mohammad Rizwan, who ends up lying on his front, a little like a toddler having a tantrum in a supermarket.
That's a great description, actually. It really was.
Arms in front of him, legs behind him.
Had he missed it, he probably might have had that toddler's tantrum, to be fair. If he'd gone straight through for 4 byes, there's every chance. But the thing with this surface, it does look as though the ball skids on nicely. You can really trust the bounce against the new ball. But as I say, there's just a hint that there's a bit of grip there.
Milan pushing the ball into the offside, going for that quick single, and Hales running to the danger end, gets back safely, and 1 run is taken. England happy to accumulate, well aware that Pakistan's troubles came really in the latter stage of the innings, and having lost a wicket, don't risk losing another one. Just with that target in sight, you know what you've got to do. The benefit of batting second.
Yeah, and the benefit of batting second on a good surface as well. You know, it's not a difficult surface. This is about intelligence and about these two showing their real experience and their nous and knowing what the team needs from them at this time. This is about smart cricket now.
Hales chews gum furiously, looks up, raises his bat, and then pushes that ball into the offside. Ralph bowling the ball with the fingers rolling over it. A little off-cutter that saw the pace just marginally taken off it. 46 for 1 is the score. 1 ball left of the power play overs. Babar Azam, who's got these piercing eyes, looks around and gives a bit of instruction to Harris Ralph. And we're going to see Milan on strike for the final ball of the first 6 overs. England require 113 to win off 85 deliveries. The first game an England side has played in Pakistan for this men's team in 17 years. Ralph to conclude his first over. Just 2 runs from it so far. Into bowl to Milan, who pulls that ball away nicely, firmly into the leg side. But he won't pick up a boundary because a fielder in the deep will run round to pick up. And so a single to conclude things. 47 for 1 is the score after 6. Milan on 14, Hales on 17. The equation 112 from 84.
Yeah, a good start this from England. 2 experienced players at the crease. Hales obviously will feel there's a little bit to prove. He'll have got a couple of boundaries away. That'll settle him down nicely. Milan, excellent player. And we talked earlier about maybe the Hales Salt shoot off at the top of the innings to see who opens with Butler when we get to the World Cup. But actually, as I said, Milan won't be too far away from that. He likes to open. He likes to be at the top of the order. But the suggestion is that it will be between Hales and Salt who will open. They'll both be desperate to score runs in this series. They're going to get great opportunities. The best time to bat in Pakistan on these pitches with the ball skidding on will be against the new ball. So a great opportunity for Hales and Salt. But as I said, smart cricket is the absolute key through this period of play now.
Well, we've seen runs not at a premium in this game, but certainly not the monster total we expected perhaps in the first innings. Fabio, how about this from Chelmsford? Lancashire in their second innings. We're into the third innings of the match already. Have staged quite the recovery from a disappointing 7 for 6.
7 for 6?
The dizzy heights of 12 for 6.
Goodness me.
And
12 for 6. Well, they say a fast game's a good game, but I'm not sure about that one.
And they currently lead by 36, which feels like dizzying riches at the moment. Desmond Kadir, a bit of leg spin into bowl to David Milan. It's a low full toss, which is clubbed down the ground. Has he got enough on it? He has. 6 runs. Bounces into the sight screen. A substitute fielder runs around to pick up, and a loosener from Kadir is punished by David Milan. A low full toss. The googly attempted, and Milan was happy just to see that ball fly back over the bowler's head.
Well, I wouldn't think out of the... that's a fantastic shot from David Milan. Down the ground, low full toss, not always easy to hit, and he's hit that cleanly over the sight screen for 6.
Cool, cries a catch, and he's been taken. Caught and bowled. The googly again, and this time didn't get nearly enough of it, Milan, I should say. It went flying back to the hands of the bowler. England lose the second wicket, 53 for 2. David Milan, top scorer in this year's 100, departs 20 from 15. England require 106 from 82, and the bowler gets the revenge.
Well, it does help, doesn't it, when you actually land the ball as a spinner. That is a bonus. That's the first thing to say. The second thing would be to say that there is definitely a little bit of grip there. We saw it with Adil Rashid. The ball is just gripping in the surface enough. And we saw Nawaz bowled a ball that Salt came down the wicket to, and it just gripped in front of him, and that's exactly the same. It was a very full delivery to David Milan, looking to hit it perhaps a little bit mid-off area, and it's got inside half of the bat, and it's just lobbed back to the bowler for a very grateful caught and bowled. But it will be really interesting to see now. I mean, 106 off 82, you would think that England would fancy their chances of comfortably winning this game. 2 wickets down. But if the ball is just starting to grip a fraction, England will be careful here that they don't literally give wickets away.
Well, Ben Duckett has not played in the T20 International since 2019, England against Pakistan at Cardiff, in that series prior to the World Cup of that same summer. And the left-hander comes to the middle to face Usman, chops that ball away and finds a single out to deep cover. England 54 for 2, but his more significant England time, Duckett, was in the back end of 2016, that long tour to the subcontinent, games in Bangladesh and India. You were part of the coaching setup then.
Yep.
Well, he had actually a decent time of it in Bangladesh, particularly in the white ball games.
He did. I think he's a very fine player. I mean, he had a really tough experience in India, and he found that difficult, but I think he's an excellent player. I think his game has really grown and kicked on in the last couple of years.
Hales pushes that ball, opening the face of the bat out towards deep cover himself. Right hand, left hand combo still for England. And the score stands at 55 for 2. Lancashire's Twitter feed, I should say, did put out earlier that their lowest ever total in an innings in first class cricket was 25. They're currently 18 for 6. So they should pass that. In comes Kadir, bowling to Duckett, who's beaten by Googly that flies past the outside edge into the gloves of Rizwan. And Duckett looks bamboozled, stares at the pitch. And that's a lovely piece of bowling.
That's turned significantly, hasn't it? It really has. That's turned a long way. So sometimes the ball skids on, others it just grips and spins.
It's a reverse sweep attempted by Duckett, who gets a good piece of it, but the fielder running round in the deep will pick up. Hyder Ali out there in the green boots. And 7 overs have been bowled. The score stands at 56 for 2. 103 needed from 78 deliveries. Paul Farbrace is having a break, I believe. I think it's Heather Knight coming in to join us as we see a little shift in the commentary box. 19 for 6. George Bell is playing a marvellous hand for Lancashire in that game. 13 off 15 deliveries in a total of 19 for 6, which is, whatever way you look at it, Heather Knight, pretty gruesome.
Bit of a minefield by the sounds of it.
Minefield? All 23 for 6. Anyway, yeah, I will stop commentating on that game and focus on this one in a minute. I just can't believe the score. Ben Duckett's on 2. Hales is on 18. And we're going to see Naseem Shah returning to the attack. His first over was expensive, 14 from it at the start of this innings. And Duckett is somebody who likes pace on the ball. I think you'll find Shah a little easier to cope with than the mystery spin of Kadir. He's running in now is Naseem, 19 years old, and Duckett is pushing that ball into the onside. Won't find a run there, and the score remains at 56 for 2.
Yeah, he's very quick, isn't he? Pushing above 90 miles per hour, Nazim. And I think he'll be really effective in Australia, actually, on those wickets. Obviously, the T20 World Cup in October is taking place in Australia, and I think those wickets out there will suit him brilliantly. He's consistently pushing the speed gun above 90 miles an hour and has a very quick bouncer as well. But on this wicket, I think pace looks a lot easier to score off, and spin, not so much.
This is worked away nicely. Fine by Duckett, down towards fine leg. We're out of the power play now, so those gaps when they're found are easier to cut off for the fielding side. And England move forward to 57 for 2. The target is 159. Saw some spectators on the big screen enjoying some ice lollies. You don't often see that as a cricket snack.
Usually an ice cream, isn't it, Mr.
Normally,
Whippy?
yeah, normally. We were discussing this the other day. If you could have any sort of thing in a ground named after you, like a stand, whatever it might be. Hold on a minute. Here comes Naseem Shah. Into bowl to Alex Hales, who's on 18. It's dropped short and Hales thrashes it away through the offside. Work for the fielder to do, but the ball wins the race. It was hit so hard. And Harris Ralph is quick, but couldn't stop it. Hales again showing his prowess through the offside. 61 for 2. What a shot that was, Helen.
Yeah, easy cut ball there from Hales, just straying a bit short and wide. Naseem Shah, and the long levers of Alex Hales just goes a little bit deeper, but gets the width that he's after anyway from the bowler. I think he should have done slightly better out there on the boundary.
Hales is on 22. And runs that ball fine towards deep third for a single. England 62 for 2. So the discussion was, because he knows different grounds have different, the Jimmy Anderson end. Anya Shrubsole suggested she might have a floodlight named after her at Bristol. I think she deserves more, personally.
At Bristol, surely Taunton.
Well,
Somerset Tragics
we
will
were
be
at
after
we
her.
were at Bristol at the time. I think that was the reason we went there. I'm trying to think what the Heather Knight Pavilion's got a ring to it. Would you take a pavilion? Here comes Naseem Shah bowling to Ben Duckett, clipping the ball into the leg side. There'll be no run there. Fielder waits at mid-wicket.
Quite like the washing machine, the sustainable washing machine we saw earlier.
Oh, what, on the boundary edge?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Heather Knight washing machine.
So you'd want that to
Sustainability at its heart.
Yeah, nice. A permanent fixture on the boundary edge. Yeah, I think that works. The worst I've seen is the waiting area. It's named after Richard Hadley at Trent Bridge. I mean, surely he deserves more than a waiting area. Here comes Naseem Shah to bowl to Ben Duckett. Full delivery on the toes. Clipped out towards wide, long on for 1. Duckett moves to 4 from his first 7 balls, back in England T20 colours. 8 overs gone, 63 for 2, and 96 required off 72. It's an equation as a side chasing you'd fancy most days.
I think so, but I think we saw in the first innings how the pitch got a little bit harder. Spinners came on, took the pace off, and Pakistan actually are ahead of England at this point in the innings. They'd only lost 1 wicket. No wickets, in fact. Actually, they were 85 for none towards the 10th over. So things can change quite quickly. We're seeing a little bit of turn on this surface, and it did change a little bit in the first innings. The wicket looked absolutely pure as glass to start with, and then we started to see a few sort of darker patches and bits of grass come off, and it started to turn a bit more.
Well, Usman Khatir is about to bowl, and we've said Rizwan's a bit of a character, and he's stopped his delivery. Duckett has then pretended to play a reverse slog sweep, to which Rizwan has shouted catch it, despite the ball never leaving the hand of the bowler. Duckett this time plays a more conventional shot, chopping that ball out towards cover point, and single is taken. So Duckett off strike, he's on to 5. Hales waiting now on 23. And England need 95 off 71.
Big opportunity this for Duckett. Obviously Liam Livingstone is the mainstay in the T20 order, injured at the moment, ankle injury for Liam, so it must be quite hard knowing that this series is your only opportunity probably to try and impress and try and push for a place in that World Cup squad.
He's a vastly experienced T20 player now, 168 matches. He knows his game really well, as Usman again thinks about bowling and decides against it. He's drying his hand and just repairing the footmarks. I'm not sure if this is kidology and part of a psychological battle, or if there is an issue with that takeoff point. 95 off 71. Hales is on 23. And hitting that ball in the air. Cries of catch it. Fielder running in. Will not get there because it dropped well short of Shan Masood at deep mid-wicket. And Hales gets a single. What Pakistan did really well was pushing for the 2s, and when the boundaries weren't coming, it's nudging it into gaps. England feel like they're looking for boundary shots every time, and at best finding singles. Duckett, bearded figure underneath that helmet, left-hander. is trying that reverse again, plays it square, a good sliding stop. Will limit the runs just to a single. And England move forward to 66 for 2, midway through the ninth.
Very confident in that shot, isn't he, Ben Duckett? It's like his cover drive. They've even got a deep point out on the boundary to the left-hander. So he backed himself, even though there's a boundary fielder covering the shot, to try and get it either side of them.
Hales going hard at that ball and stinging the hands of the bowler, who is now looking down at his left fingertips as Alex Hales gave himself some room, smacked that ball back towards the bowler.
I think something flew off then. I'm not sure what it was.
Some sunglasses, maybe? I'll tell you what it was. It was umpire Anim Dar's watch.
How does that happen? The ball's nowhere near him.
It's like a magic trick. Got the time, Alim? Not anymore. Right then, 92 needed from 68. Watches have been found. Duckett is on 6 from 9 and going into the leg side. A conventional sweep this time. Work for the fielder to do, and watch that spin. And a little bit of a fumble will allow them through for 2, this England pair. And the total moves forward. 69 for 2 is the score. 90 needed from 67. A little bit of a haze descending upon the National Stadium in Karachi. As you see the replay of that shot from Duckett. Big stride forward. It is that sweep game, both conventional and reverse, that is such a trademark. And he's in position to reverse sweep it. And this time a top edge will fly over the keeper's head. 2 fielders in pursuit, but that ball just skips its merry way down to the boundary. And Alex Hales and Ben Duckett punch gloves to acknowledge 4, albeit not quite where he wanted it. Off the top edge it goes. Duckett to 12 and England 73 for 2.
Yeah, Duckett going to his reverse sweep again, just finding the top edge. Although it wasn't quite convincing, I think it's a really good way to go from England. We've seen Hales at the other end sweeping as well. It seems really hard if the spinners bowl into the wicket to get them off the back foot. So both players looking to hit the ball really hard square of the wicket by sweeping, and obviously Duckett is one of his biggest strengths, and he's going to that very experienced T20 player, going to his strengths, and that's key. He must feel the pressure after not playing international cricket for a little while.
Yeah, and certainly this is, as you say, a big opportunity with players missing Bairstow, Livingston, Butler, and the carrot of a World Cup to come in the latter part of this year. There really is that sense that this could be a big opportunity. Right then, Hales, another man back in England colours, is waiting for Haris Rauf with the 10th over about to begin. Pakistan were actually 10 runs ahead of where England were at this point. Hales giving himself a little bit of room, running that ball down towards deep third, where it is fielded on the boundary by Kadir. But I think it's fair to say Pakistan's innings tailed off rather.
It did, particularly through those middle overs. 85 for no wicket, and they lost 3 or 4 quick wickets through that middle period. Adil Rashid bowling outstandingly, and England will want to be careful that they don't have the same fate, making sure they're building those partnerships through the middle and making this an easy chase.
Rauf. Beard, and a little hop and a skip, holding the ball in front of him in 2 hands and running away quickly. Left arm over. Left arm round, I should say, as it's pushed into the offside by Duckett. And a single is taken. 75 for 2 is the score. As on the big screen, there's some supporters enjoying a cup of tea, which is nice to see. I presume it's part of the commercial arrangements for this.
I think their cups might be empty, actually, Henry.
Do you think?
I think they work for the company.
No. Rauf bowling. It is pulled into the leg side, and a single will be taken. I did say left arm round. I'm not sure why he's right arm over there. Haris Rauf. He bowls quickly and skiddy. And the score 76 for 2. I always enjoy the objects, the different objects you see around tournaments and competitions around the world. Like the 100, you've got the arch with the smoke and the lights. You've got the car that sits on the boundary edge in the IPL. Here you've got an enormous washing machine.
Charlotte Edwards won a washing machine in India once.
Rauf round the wicket, bowling to Duckett, hammers that ball into the leg side. Fielder running round will get there though to prevent the 4 runs. And the score 77 for 2. England needing 82 off 62. She did not win a washing
It wasn't
machine.
a modern, sustainable washing machine. It was a normal washing machine that you got for player of the match.
No. What did she do with it?
I think she left it in India. Didn't have the baggage back then to bring it back, unfortunately.
That's such a pity. Presumably she could have used some frequent dryer points to get it home. Here comes Ralph bowling to Hales.
That was worse than mine earlier.
It was a better joke than your. Phil Salt looks a bit salty. 77 for 2 is the score. Don't give me that. Frequent try points is a really good joke.
I think we're both as bad as each other. Apologies, viewers.
I'm so sorry. 1 ball left of the 10th over. So I can see Mark Wood, who's got recently quite close cropped hair, standing on the boundary edge, ready to deliver some drinks.
It's a big bench, isn't it? Squad of 20.
Yeah, a lot of them.
You can ask Paul how he'd write a programme for 20 players in the nets later on.
1 ball left of the first half of this innings. 78 for 2 is the score. England require 81 off 61. Duckett on strike. In comes Ralph, and Duckett helping that ball on its way around the corner, and for 4, no, brilliant stop. That is some superb fielding out there in the distance, because that ball was travelling, and a boundary has been saved by a really excellent piece of work out there in the deep. It's Mohammed Nawaz that had to, Usman Qadir, forgive me, that had to make up a lot of ground. 80 for 2 is the score after 10 overs. England require 79 from 60. Heather Knight, are they going to do it? Simple question. Then Atif Nawaz.
I would say they're firm favourites at the moment. They've gone along nicely. They haven't taken too many risks. They've tried to extend that partnership in the middle period. Alex Hales going nicely, not probably quite as fluently as we've been used to seeing him in T20 cricket. He's played a bit more of an anchor role, and Ben Duckett as well going along nicely with 16 off 14 balls, and the required runs are 79 off 60 balls now. So England in a very strong position, but as we saw with Pakistan's batting innings, they lost those crucial wickets through the middle period, and it meant that innings stuttered slightly. So England will be looking to really extend this partnership, get a little bit further on in the chase, and then look to put the foot down on the gas, I think, Atif.
Absolutely. 79 needed off 60. And the players are all having a little bit of a drink. I'm sure there'll be something in their cups for sure. I'm pretty sure they have actual tea in their teacups. I've seen that sort of sponsored bit a few times during the PSL, and there's usually a bit of steam coming from it. And I feel like it'd be too much effort to make fake steam happen. Like, you might as well just have a cup of tea, right?
Yeah, maybe. I always wonder when on a TV programme, when you see someone drinking, are they actually drinking?
Well, it depends. When you see like an actor drinking,
yeah, an actor, yeah,
they usually got to like sip at it without taking huge chunks, because obviously there's a person there who has to keep topping it up for continuity, and what you don't want is to be like chugging down lots of fluid, so you have to keep going to the bathroom. So that's how they do it there. And right now the players are chugging down plenty of fluids just because they're losing a lot in this heat as well. Really, really hot and humid in Karachi at the moment, but a lovely atmosphere. I think actually they've been reasonably restrained this time with the sponsors. I mean, watching some of the Pakistan Super League, I mean, you're bombarded with things. I mean, I thought we weren't too far away from Formula 1 style overalls in cricket, where literally no square inch of the shirt is left behind without a sponsor. Something to look forward to, of course. You'll have some surely have some franchise T20 cricket coming up at some stage in the next 12 months, Heather?
Well, I was due to go to the Big Bash, but obviously this injury has curtailed those plans. But it's a really exciting time in women's cricket at the moment, actually. There's a lot of franchise leagues popping up. There's rumours of a Pakistan Super League kicking off, rumours of an IPL, Fair Break tournament, which I played in earlier this year. So, yeah, it's quite an exciting time with all the tournaments coming on, but also the new challenges that it brings as players, trying to manage yourself, obviously, to try and peak for international cricket.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that. Both of those, of course, made official. There will be a women's PSL and a women's IPL. The IPL, they've even got a window set for it next year. So something to look out for. Just stay on the emails to your agent, Heather. I reckon there's one coming. Now then, back to Karachi. It's Usman Qadir who's got the ball in his hand for his third over, the leg spinner. Got figures of 1 for 19 so far. In he comes to Alex Hales, back of a length, and just cut out towards deep extra cover for a single. Usman Qadir, of course, son of Abdul Qadir, the great Pakistani leg spinner, who passed away a couple of years ago. He's very emotional when he made his debut for Pakistan, paying tribute to his father's memory. Second generation cricketer. There's a few of them about. You can hear a lot of noise from Rizwan behind the stumps as well. He makes himself very, very apparent. In comes Usman again, and that ball's been swept. Not quite timed by Duckett, out towards deep mid-wicket for a single. They can afford to do this, England. They know that there's not a huge total. They can afford to just pick their moment for their acceleration. 77 needed off 58 deliveries, and still 8 wickets in hand.
Doesn't look like the easiest wicket to start on, so these two will really want to break the back of the chase and get the most of these runs.
Wide outside off stump, big swing from Alex Hills, and he's hit it right down the throat of Long On, who's dropped it. My goodness. It was a straightforward chance. He done all the hard work. It's Shan Masood down at Long On. Got underneath it, got his hands into it. Somehow it's gone through his hands. Alex Hills. It was a long way wide, just pushed it further wide than Usman Qadir. Saw the batter's shot coming, and it's gone right through his hands. My goodness, what a drop.
Yeah, really good bowling there from Usman. He's identified that the England batters are sweeping a lot.
And there's a reverse sweep this time, and into the vacant area this time for Ben Duckett. It became mid-wicket. It was, of course, deep extra cover, but he switched round to a right-hander stance. Insult to injury for Qadir. He had him dropped. Well, he had Hales drop the previous ball, and he gets hit for 4 by Duckett the next ball.
He's bowled well, actually. He's looked threatening. His figures don't quite suggest it, going for... How many has he gone for now? 26 off his 2.5 overs.
Another reverse sweep attempted. It hits him right in front, and the umpire's finger goes up straight away. Duckett's been given LBW. I wonder if he'll review this. It looked pretty straight to me, Heather. Pitching in line and just straightening. He's having a little chat, is Duckett, with Alex Hills. And I believe Duckett is going to... Is he going to review? Yeah, I think he has. He's gone for the review.
We have a review for LBW. On-field decision is out. I checked, it's a fair delivery. Front on spin vision, please.
You can hear the voice there of the TV umpire, Ehsan Raza. Let's take another look at that delivery. And it's definitely pitching in line. And it's definitely straightening. And it almost definitely doesn't look like...
to the bat to confirm ultra edge, please.
There's any bat involved. Ultra edge will tell us more. Ooh.
Keep rolling. Keep rolling. Keep rolling. Keep rolling. Flat line. Roll through to the pads, please.
Oh.
Satisfied. No bat involved.
Didn't hit the pad.
Go for ball tracking. We're ready, please.
Looks pretty out to me. He's played the switch hit there, which means he loses his outside leg stump, so don't have to worry about
Original
that.
Decision out.
And it looks like
Pitching
it's
in line.
hit middle and
Impact in line.
leg halfway up, and it is.
Yeah.
Can you go back on field, please?
A little bit of respite for Pakistan. It's Usman Qadir again who takes a second wicket. Ben Duckett has to go for 21 off 17. Ehsan Raza confirming the on-field umpire Aleem Dar's decision. England 87 for 3 now off 10.5 overs. Maybe there's a little twist in this tale to come in Karachi. It's just like you said, Heather, not the easiest wicket to start on. Pakistan might just have a sniff here.
Yeah, Usman Qadir, he's bowled brilliantly, I think. Nearly got the wicket of Alex Hales in the previous couple of balls, dropped on the boundary by Shan Masood, and he's adapted really well to what the England batters are trying to do. They're playing a lot of sweep shots, the ball isn't bouncing too much, a little bit of turn, and he's just either gone wider to the right-hander or gone a bit more into the wicket, which makes it much harder as a batter to get to the pitch of the ball to try and play those sweep shots. If it's a bit shorter, it can be a little bit easier to come off the shot and either for the ball to sneak under or over the top of the bat. So really good bowling from him. He's been expensive, but he's created chances and he's picked up 2 wickets here.
Yeah, it's been very impressive today, Usman Qadir. Could have easily had 3, as you say. Wonder how costly that drop of Alex Hills is going to be for Pakistan. Harry Brook, the new batter. He's a firm favourite in Pakistan, although not so much in Karachi. I'll tell you why, as his first ball's been defended back to the bowler for no run. Terrific over that from Usman Qadir. Big wicket of Ben Duckett. England need 72 off 54. They're 87 for 3 off 11 overs. And Harry Brook, of course, scored a century in the Pakistan Super League for the Lahore Qalandars, but he did it against the Karachi Kings, which is possibly why that local crowd not so fond of him.
Yeah, he's performed brilliantly, hasn't he, in the PSL, and actually a little bit surprised they haven't thrown Moeen Ali in next to keep that right-left-hand combination, particularly with the leg spinner bowling particularly well. Obviously the matchup to the left-hander is a slightly better one from England's batting perspective, but tour of opportunity, they've given Brook the opportunity to go in at number 5 with a nice chase lined up and hopefully a few runs for him today.
Yeah, Nawaz, the slow left armer, is going to continue. It's going to be Alex Hills on strike. He's on 29 of 23 deliveries. It's a big innings, big match for Alex Hills. Back in England colours after a long absence from this side. Can he guide his team home? Nawaz into Hills, back of a length. He works this out towards deep extra cover. It's fielded on the bounce by Heather Ali. Another single to the score. 88 for 3. And the slower bowlers look like they hold the key on the surface. I wonder if that's a trend we're going to see continue in this series.
I think so. They've obviously got 4 games at the Karachi National Stadium, so be interesting to see how they use the wickets, whether they reuse this one for the next game or move across to a slightly fresher one.
Nawaz into Brook. Just works this down the ground to long on for a single to get off the mark. Harry Brook, he's off and running, and now you can hear Rizwan speaking in Pashto to Nawaz. Of course, many languages spoken in Pakistan. You historically sort of think of Urdu and Punjabi, and Nawaz and Rizwan both speak in Pashto. In comes Nawaz now. That ball takes a leading edge and slightly aerial for a moment as it passed the fielder at point down to deep backward point. The throw comes in, just a single to the score. 90 for 3 now. 69 needed off 51. It's still back England to get there. And perhaps not quite as straightforward as it looked a couple of overs ago. It's a big opportunity this for Harry Brook as in comes Nawaz. And Brook just working that wide of the bowler who has to field on his own follow through and gets a throw in as well at the non-strikers end. Had it been a direct hit, Brook would have been running off right now, but as it happens, it was well wide. As Captain Babar Azam doesn't mind too much. He's got a smile on his face.
Yeah, sharp work there from Nawaz, just flicking his left arm round his body. Really hard to get any accuracy, but we're just seeing a replay here. If it had been a direct hit, Harry Brook was hardly in the screen. He'd given up.
There's a blind throw as well, wasn't it? In comes Nawaz. A bit fuller this time, driven to extra cover, fielded by Babar Azam. There is no run.
Bit of purchase there again. I think how England's batters play Pakistan's 2 spinners through this middle period is going to be really key. They're going to have to target the seamers when they get the opportunity.
68 needed off 49. 1 ball to come in the 12th over. Nawaz into Hills. He drives us out towards mid-wicket. Just be the single. Dil Shah quickly onto the ball. It's the end of a very good over from Nawaz. He's got an excellent return so far. 3 overs, none for 15 for him. England 92 for 3. Alex Hills out there on 32 off 27. Brook on 2 off 3. Lots of fans out in the stadium enjoying themselves, enjoying the occasion. We've seen a lot of it this summer in England. The T20 blast, the Test cricket, 100. It's just the big crowd pullers, but also, of course, in the Royal London One Day Cup, Charlotte Edwards Trophy, Rachel Hare Flint Trophy. So many great competitions this summer.
Got a few England flags in the crowd as well.
Yes, indeed. Usman Qadir in for his final over. Starts with a sharply turning ball, which Hills just bunts out for a single. You can hear Rizwan behind the stumps just yelling and yelling. Now to Usman, he's speaking in Urdu. It's outstanding. He's like one of those really impressive. I don't know if you remember your secondary school language teachers. I had this wonderful teacher who could speak French and Spanish equally fluently. It always blew my mind as the next ball's been worked to mid-wicket for a single. And Rizwan's a bit like that because he can speak Urdu and Pashto and Punjabi equally fluently.
Very impressive. He's just a bundle of energy as well, isn't he? Seems like a really good team player, brings the sort of focal point that the team can build their energy around.
We've got to convince Stephen Finn to take us for a drive with Rizwan in Hove next summer. In comes Osman again, and Hales moving across his crease, airily sweeping that out towards mid-wicket. Just a single though. Applause from the crowd, starting to feel like the team's still in this game. We're listening here on 5 Sports Extra. We'll be bringing you coverage of all of these 7 T20s here across the BBC's channels, as that ball's been smashed down the ground by Brook over the head of Usman Qadir. It was a full toss, to be fair, but first sign of aggression from the young Harry Brook. 99 for 3 off 12.4.
Yeah, really quick feet to make that into a full toss from Harry Brook, and just the quick hands to whack the ball towards the sight screen down the ground. A little bit of a loose ball. Usman Qadir bowled very well today, but he has bowled a few loose balls, but he's also been very threatening and got 2 more balls to try and pick up another wicket.
And he comes now to Harry Brook. Lots of flight on this one. Brook comes down the ground again, this time driving along the surface down to long off. Is Mohammad Nawaz fielding. That'll be another single to the score. Brings up the 100 for England though. 100 for 3 off 12.5 overs. Still 59 needed to win this game from 43 balls. Polite applause from the Karachi crowd to acknowledge England's 100. At this stage, Pakistan were 106 for 1. This is short from Usman. It's been cut nicely by Alex Hales out towards deep extra cover. They take the first one quickly, and they're going to come back with a second, and they're going to make it. Good running by Brook and Hales. Steal a couple of runs to end the over. 102 for 3 England after 13 overs. And Usman Qadir's work comes to an end for the day. 2 for 36 for the leg spinner from his 4 overs. I know you've been impressed, Heather.
I have, and brilliant running there from England as well, picking up 2 after a little bit of a fumble, showing the intent to try and push for 2. And it's so important on a pitch like this. It is a little bit slow, not that easy to find the boundary. If you can pick up those 2s in those middle periods, it makes things a lot easier. But Usman Qadir been very good today. He's been a little bit expensive. He's had a drop catch off his bowling, but he's picked up 2 key wickets and kept Pakistan in this game.
Yeah. And Mohammad Nawaz is going to continue for his final over as well. It'll be intriguing to see what Babar Azam does after that. Does he potentially try and squeeze out an over from Iftikhar? Maybe even Hushdil, both capable spinners. Hushdil not really favoured by Babar in the international format. For now, it's Nawaz for his final over, and he comes to Brook, who works that away towards mid-wicket for a single. 103 for 3 off 13.1.
Yeah, Babar really putting all his eggs in one basket here, trying to take the 4th wicket in this innings, throwing the ball to his spinner to finish off, and spin has been very effective on this wicket, and this over is a real key one in the context of this match.
Hales on strike, he's on 36 off 30. In comes Nawaz, there's a short outside off, it's been cut hard. Babar Azam, extra cover, fumbles. Allows the batters to get through for a single. 104 for 3 now. Hales has just adjusted his tempo in this innings. I thought he might come quite hard at the top, but he's actually tailored his innings quite nicely to this chase so far. Can he take it all the way? It's Brook on strike, thick outside edge. Goes to short third. There is no run. It's very difficult to score off as Nawaz. There's that big washing machine again. I know Henry Moran likes a lot.
Turning very fast, considering there's no one on it pushing.
And that's the kinetic energy that they've stored up from the previous, from pre-match, I imagine. There's another full ball from Nawaz, has been worked away towards mid-wicket. They take a single. That's all they'll take.
I wouldn't mind a slip in here. There is a little bit of turn for the left arm spinner, and they need wickets, Pakistan. Wouldn't mind a little bit of a catcher. We saw an outside edge from Brook fly past Slip's right hand in the previous ball, but no one in there to catch.
No. 105 for 3. Nawaz into Hales, who drives nicely again down to long off. It's happy to just accumulate here for the time being, England. They can afford to do that, as we say. 53 needed off 37, but you don't really want it to go too close. You don't want it a straightforward chase to turn into a tight one necessarily, Heather.
No, you don't, and a couple of quick wickets here will make it very interesting, and England will be looking to continue this partnership and try and not leave too much to do at the end. That can be the danger sometimes on a slow wicket. You rebuild in the middle, but allow too much to do for the lower order at the end if you lose a few quick wickets.
A single off the last ball of Nawaz is over, and his spell for the day, his work is done. 4 overs, 0 for 20 for him. Very, very effective, as all the slow bowlers have been. England 107 for 3 for 14 overs, and following so far a very similar trajectory to Pakistan. In fact, they're going a touch slower than Pakistan were up to this point in the innings. They still should fancy themselves to chase this down. 52 needed off 36 balls. Now with 6 overs remaining in this game, it's back to the seam bowlers for Babar Azam. He's throwing the ball to the young man Shah Nawaz Dahani. He's only recently made his debut for Pakistan in T20 cricket. Well-liked member of the squad. 24 years of age from Larkana. Harry Brook on strike. Here comes Dahani. He's looking for the reverse scoop, and he's nailed it. As Harry Brook, 1 bounce 4. Nearly takes out one of the stewards behind the advertising board as well. Brook just got down on one knee and lapped it perfectly. 111 for 3.
Yeah, nicely done there by Brook, realising that fine leg is up inside the circle, and a bit of welcome pace on the ball after death by spin in the last few overs. And as we talked about, I think the England players will look to attack the seam bowling a little bit more than they have the spin, and Harry Brook showing his intent by hitting the first ball by Dahani for 4.
48 needed off 35. He got into quite the position there, Harry Brook, didn't he? He looked almost like a martial artist by the time he got bat on ball. Big stretch. Brook's on 15 off 11. Here's Dahani again. This is a low full toss. It's been driven beautifully by Brook, but an excellent diving stop. An extra cover from Iftikhar prevents any runs. 112, I beg your pardon, they run through for a single. 112 for 3. Stephen Finn back alongside us. It should be straightforward, Penny, surely.
It should be, but I think we saw at the back end of the Pakistan innings that wickets really did stem the flow of runs. So there's no point here Pakistan trying to just restrict England. It's going to have to be about how do we take these wickets and how do we keep pegging England back by taking wickets, making fresh batters come to the crease and try and chase these runs.
47 needed off 34 for England. Here's Dahani again. Under edge, almost onto the stumps. And Brook had come a long way down the wicket. And they run through for an overthrow. I mean, that was a bit poor from Dahani. He held onto the ball in his follow-through to prevent the single, but then his shy at the non-strikers was with such force. And the fielder following up had a long way to go. Actually managed to turn around and get the overthrow in.
They've been a bit sloppy today, Pakistan, actually. A few fumbles in the outfield, drop catch, Shah Masood out on the boundary, and then just an easy single again for England.
Just over 8 and over needed for England to get home in this first of 7 T20 internationals between Pakistan and England. Here's Dahani now into Brook. It's a full toss. It's taken a thick outside edge and it's going to run away to the deep third boundary for 4. Brook didn't really get a hold of it, but all he had to do was get a bit of bat on it. Plenty of pace to take the ball to the boundary. Third man up inside the circle and 4 written all over it.
Yeah, another full toss there, and Harry Brook has bent his back trying to hit that one. He was going to make sure whatever happened, it was going to go to the boundary, and just getting a thick outside edge in between the fielder and the wicket-keeper, flying away for 4.
It's on to 20 off 13. Brook, he's accelerating nicely. England 42 needed off 32 balls. And with the threat of the slower bowlers out of the way, looks like it'll be smooth sailing. Perhaps there's a twist in the tail, who knows? We must stay tuned to find out. Here's Dahani now. Slower ball. Brook watchfully driving that down to long on for a single. As a bowler here, Stephen Finn, what are you searching for?
Well, I think Dahani here really hasn't learned from what's happened in the game so far. It's been the slower balls and changes of pace and changes of seam position into the pitch halfway down, using those variations to stop someone swinging one pace through the line of everything. The 2 slower balls he has bowled this over have both only gone for 1 run, and the pace on deliveries are the ones that have been smashed away for boundaries. So I think maybe he's got this preconceived idea of the way he needed to bowl without actually taking into account the conditions.
Dahani into Hills. It's been smashed quite hard by Hills down the ground, and that's going to go to the long off boundary for 4. Alex Hills looking to accelerate and get England over the line. 37 needed of 30 balls, 5 overs left in this game, and if Alex Hills continues to time the ball like that, you suspect it won't last that long. 122 for 3 now, England, after 15 overs, and what's been a very complete performance so far. Heather Knight, your thoughts on how well England have done so far today and where this game looks poised to go? And then you're going to be joined for the last 5 overs by Henry Moran.
Yeah, just a bit on the full side there from Dahani to finish his over. It was an off-cutter, but as Finney talked about, you need to go into the wicket. Anything that's up there. Alex Hale, he has such long levers. He's able to reach that ball that's marginally over-pitched and caress it down to the long off boundary. Mid-off very wide as well. So, yeah, slightly poor execution there from Dahani. The right sort of ball, off-cutter running his fingers down the right-hand side of the ball, but just didn't quite nail the length.
Alex Hale showing England what they've been missing, perhaps. He's played very nicely. I mean, let's be honest, England's white ball side has not exactly been struggling in recent times. It's not been an area of too much concern. Right then, Brook is on strike. 1-2-2 for 3. This has just worked comfortably round the corner, but he's timed it so well. 4 runs when it never looked like it was going to make it to the boundary, but just seemed to pick up speed off the outfield, and the fielder in pursuit wasn't so far away from it. The ball gets to the boundary long before he's in the game. It's a fine piece of timing, Steve.
It is. It's an off-cutter from Naseem, and the problem with off-cutters from a right-arm bowler to a right-handed batter is that the ball's spinning into him, so he can adjust the swing of his bat and just help it on its way off his hip. The advantage that England have with their left arms is that they get the ball moving away from the right-handed batters. Partnership
now worth 39. Brook is just nudging that ball off the face of the bat down towards short third to pick up a single. 127 for 3. England require 32 from 28, and Pakistan now, Heather, needs some wickets.
They do. They have to try and hunt for these wickets. The intent that Brook has shown for his 26 runs off 16 balls has really pushed that rate down now. It's only 32 off 28 balls, so wickets are the order of the day for the Pakistan team, and I wouldn't mind maybe a slip or a catcher in front. It's not the quickest wicket, so slip might not be in the game, but they need to make something happen at this stage.
Gold chain bouncing as Naseem Shah is into bowl a slower ball, which deceives Alex Hales, looking to give himself some space and find the gap in the offside. He knows he's been beaten there and smiles up at the bowler, who mops his brow with a green sweatband. 127 for 3 is the score. Midway through the 16th over. Naseem Shah has a lot of talk about him, but he's been expensive today, going at 10 and over. Alex Hales would be making quite a statement if he could reach 50 here in his return to the side, having been missing for almost 3.5 years. 127 for 3. Hales is on 43 from 35 as Naseem Shah bowls to him. It's thrashed through the offside. Lovely piece of timing, 4 runs. All along the ground, again, those long levers that we speak about doing the bulk of the work. And the timing is immaculate. England 28 from 26 needed.
Yeah, it's back of the hand slow ball this time from Naseem, but gives Alex Hales the width outside off stump. He's able to thrash that away through deep extra cover for 4 more runs. It seems like a procession now for England. They've earned the right by the way that they've played in the controlled manner against the spin, to then have some fun against these seamers coming back, trying to force something to happen, but it's not quite working for them.
Hales on 47. This is a very full delivery, which is worked off the toes, possibly through the legs, for a single to move his personal tally to 48. And England now to 132 for 3. Oh, we've got more of the tea drinking going on the big screen, which is always nice to see. They look very enthusiastic about their work. Oh, isn't that tea lovely?
I think there is tea in the cups. I can confirm there is a bit of steam. Atif was correct.
132 for 3. 27 needed from 25. Naseem, this thrilling young bowler, is in now, bowling to Brook, who's equally exciting as a talent, and that is a glorious shot. 1 bounce 4, lofted away over mid-off, and a better looking shot you will struggle to find. That is sensational batting.
It is back of the hand slow ball again from the seam, but because it's full of a length, Harry Brook can just adjust the swing of his bat. He takes a small step outside leg stump. It is a lovely slow ball. The seam's pointed upright, but it's just too full, and Harry Brook can wait for it. And because Pakistan are desperately trying to take wickets, they're mid-off and mid-on are up inside the ring. And a ball that would have been caught comfortably by the long-off fielder if he were back on the boundary is just a one-bounce 4. And England now marauding to their target. I think you'd have to say that, wouldn't you? I was going to say meandering. They're not meandering, they're marauding.
I think it's more of a marauding situation. Would you say, Heather?
I would. I'm just in awe of that shot. That's so hard to do when the bowler takes pace off the ball, to delay your hands enough to still go with the full face of the bat and find enough power to hit over mid-off. I think that's an outstanding shot by Harry Brook, and a sign of what a true batter, great batter that he is. And I think something he does really well is he manoeuvres around the crease. He often moves to leg quite a lot and moves to off, and I'm sure Finney will tell you when a batter does that, it can be quite hard to know exactly which line to go. Do you follow them? Do you go the other way and try and take it away from their hands?
I wish I knew. I wouldn't be sat here if I knew. No, it is unbelievably hard, and to make it unpredictable and as late as possible. And Heather will be able to say from a batting perspective that if you move early, bowlers can follow you whichever way you go, but if you manage to move as late as possible but keep your solid base, it's so hard.
Hales on 48, pulls that ball hard into the leg side, fielded by Haider Ali on the boundary behind square to take Hales to 49. England need 22 off 23. Also holding the pose is always nice, that lofted drive. Hold that pose.
My bottom hand comes in a bit early, so if I hold the pose, it's not quite as aesthetically pleasing.
Can you not just adjust it slightly afterwards and then hold the pose?
I usually hold the pose after I get bowled.
If as long as you crop out the stumps,
yep,
then you're fine.
One for the gram.
50 partnership has come up from 32 deliveries. And we're going to see Haris Rauf running in. 22 needed from 23. Worked away, fine, but not quite fine enough to beat the fielder Naseem Shah down on the fine leg boundary. Brook has looked composed as he moves to 31 from 18 balls, and England not too far away from victory, I should say. Tomorrow we'll have commentary of England's women against India, 1-0 down in that 3-match ODI series from Canterbury. Coverage underway at 1:45 tomorrow. So look out for that on 5 Sports Extra on BBC Sounds. Hales on 49, helps that ball round the corner. Is that off the bat? If it is, it's a half century for Alex Hales in his return to the side. And he does get the embrace from Brook to suggest that it is off that bat, and now raises it around the ground. 50 runs from Alex Hales, missing for over 3 years from the England side. Back with a half century, and back looking every bit the international quality that has never been in doubt. But now he's back doing it for his country, having claimed the recall, a shock recall arguably, in the last month. Here comes Rauf. This is slashed away, could be a catch, should be a catch, and he's gone. Babar Azam running in from mid-off, and Alex Hales departs for 53. So there is the wicket that will perhaps just put a little bit of pressure on England. 17 needed from 20. The score 1-4-2 for 4. Steve Finn, just a word on Alex Hales' innings, 53 from 40.
Yeah, he's paced it magnificently, hasn't he? He looks frustrated to have gotten out then. It would have been nice for him to be able to see it all the way through to the end, but he's done a bulk of the heavy lifting here for an England team that needed someone to marshal this chase, and he's come in and shown his experience. He's put aside the fact that he's not played international cricket for 3 years, and ultimately, unless something absolutely extraordinary happens, he's seen his team home pretty much here, which they'll be very appreciative for. So well played Alex Hales on his return to the team. England lost their 4th wicket now, but still too much for Pakistan to do, I feel.
7 fours in that innings. It was composed, controlled, and pretty much ticked all the boxes, didn't it?
It did. It was really mature. I think the way that he played spin didn't look to be too expansive, knew that the spin was the threat against his wicket, and when the seamers came back on, he's looked to be a little bit more aggressive and pick up a strike rate, and he's been the anchor today, which you're not really used to seeing Alex Hales do when you see him play in all the franchise leagues. You're used to seeing him at the top of the order, hitting boundaries and being very expansive, but he's identified that was a role that he could take on today, and he needed to take on, and he's done it brilliantly.
So Moeen Ali, the stand-in captain, comes to the middle. We might have just heard from Harry Brook there, just talking about the pitch. A little bit too paced was the message for Moeen. As the left-hander watches Harris Ralph bowl. Ooh, bottom edge, which is really well taken by the keeper because it bounced awkwardly, and there was quite a lot of work to do for Mohamed Rizwan diving to his right. But it is a dot ball. England still well in control, but they'll be wary of another wicket falling, just putting a little bit of pressure. And with this packed ground at the National Stadium in Karachi, if things do start going slightly the way of the home side, the atmosphere, as much as anything, could start just shifting the balance a little bit. The moment still very much England's game. Moeen waiting. 142 for 4 the score. 17 needed from 19. Moeen driving at that and getting an outside edge. It drops short of the keeper, who fumbles. And the ball is retrieved by Naseem Shah, running in from deep third. So end of the 17th over. Brooks on 31. Moeen's got that solitary run, will keep the strike. 16 needed from 18 balls. Typically a side does not want to leave it to the final over, so we can expect a reasonable amount of determination for England to get this done quickly enough, Heather.
Yeah, I think so. I think, like you say, Henry, they won't want to leave it towards the back end and put themselves in a situation where a couple of quick wickets could really put them under the pump. But 17 now needed off 19 balls. But we've talked about all day how it has been really hard to start. So I think Brook, as the in-batter, is going to be the one that hopefully will see them home. I think he'll look to be quite aggressive. Moeen Ali, who usually only plays in one way, looking to strike the ball hard, particularly through that mid-wicket region where he is so strong. But I expect England should be able to knock this off relatively easily.
Moeen Ali got the first job of the day done, winning the toss. He now is looking to try and seal the deal for England on strike, pushing the ball into the offside. And there is no run. 143 for 4, 16 needed from 17 balls. There's a bowler here, Finney, particularly with the pace on, the only option here for Pakistan. What are you looking to do, knowing that runs aren't really too much for stress?
Yeah, I think you probably just try and identify how someone may get out, or the most likely way of them getting out, and you just go for Broke to try and do that. With Moeen, you've seen already, they targeted him with a couple of short balls.
Low full toss, driven into the offside. Work for the fielder to do. It might win the race, the ball here, and yes, it does. Perfectly placed. It was over pitched, and Moeen on it quickly to pick up 4 runs. 12 needed from 16. Not bad.
No, a low full toss on or around off stump is what Moeen Ali goes to bed at night dreaming of, and he's gratefully received that there. But yeah, I'd be trying to bang it in halfway down, trying to change my pace, trying to get him playing cross-batted shots on a slightly too-paced wicket is a lot harder to play than obviously a low full toss.
Moeen's on 5. Again, with that elegant opening of the face, just finds an easy single out to deep cover. And England require 11.
There's been a lot of full tosses today, isn't there, by both teams. Do wonder if the dew there in Karachi has played a small factor, making the ball a bit slippy and hard to control as a bowler.
Paul gets in touch in Hertford. Says, just wondering whether the washing machine on the boundary is prize for player of the match. It'd be more useful in the home than a motorcycle, but less useful on the road, I suppose. This is an attempted little scoop over the keeper's head, which is missed by Brook. It goes through to the gloves of Rizwan. England need 11 off 14. Four 8 for 4. There is a brilliant social media feed of ludicrous prizes that have been given.
A washing machine would be up there, wouldn't
it? Would be. Well, I can't believe that Charlotte Edwards got given a washing machine. That's incredible.
But usually with the bikes and stuff, so I think Samit Patel won a couple of bikes. So it was like always all-rounder of the match won a bike or something.
Worked into the offside, and there'll be probably just a single, a little fumble. No, it won't allow a second, so England need 10 off 13.
And it was included in as prize money, so the person didn't get to take the bike home, but what would happen is that you would get the monetary value of the bike, and then you'd split it up between everyone in the touring party, and everyone got a chunk of that bike.
What, a motorbike?
Well, yeah, so say Samit Patel won all-rounder of the match, has won a motorbike and it's worth $10,000. So they've got to sell that somehow.
Defended by Moeen, no run there.
And then that gets put into the prize pot pool, which then at the end of the tour, I mean, quite often when we went to India, that was the only thing in the prize pot pool at the end of a series, an ODI series. A couple of motorbikes when someone slogged a few. And yeah, it got split up between the say 16 players on the tour. So yeah, you'd end up with a win bonus of probably around £70 a man or something after someone flogged the bike.
10 needed from 12 deliveries. We've got 2 overs left of this game. England 1-4-9 for 4. Well, that'll teach you to lose so many matches, Finney.
Well, it was always funny because, I mean, obviously it was nice when you won a series, but when you lost a series, there was one I think we got, it was something like £2.75 for a tour to India. Do you remember the one where we got beat 4 or 5-0? Yeah. I think didn't look like winning a game. Yeah, it was something silly, but because obviously it goes into the pool, it has to be paid. So you get this email saying your prize money from the India series is...
Here comes Harris Ralph, run off the face of the bat. Lovely shot from Brook, who just opened that face and beat the fielder at short third to pick up 4 runs and take England to within 6 of victory. 1-5-3 for 4.
Sublime touch there from Harry Brook. Ralph just banging it in and just using the pace delicately. We've seen it all from him tonight. A few lusty blows down the ground and then just a nice bit of placement between short third man and backward point for 4 runs.
So you'd get the email, Finney. What was it? Like £2?
Yeah, it was like £2.63 or something for a 5-test tour to India. Yeah. Yeah.
Buy you a nice coffee.
It was, yeah. Well, not in northwest London, it doesn't.
No.
Put an extra 50p of your own cash into that. Put one in northwest London.
England need 6 from 11 balls. They're close now to victory in this historic match. Brook is on strike as Ralph bowls to him. Rushing, just happy to work the single into the leg side. Turning for a second run that probably isn't there. And Moeen puts up his hand to say, yeah, quite right too. And England need 5 from 10. I love that footage of Tuffers on a bicycle during a tour to India in the early 90s. The spin wash tour, where England are losing seemingly inevitably heavily in a test series in India, and Tuffers is seen riding across the outfield at the end of a test match.
that documentary on Sky was fantastic.
It was superb. Ralph bowling to Moeen, pace taken off the ball, doesn't quite swing at it. He realises before he actually goes through with the shot that he's not going to get it. And then 5 needed from 10. Simon in Cambridge says, so pleased to see this series happening. My mother was born in Lahore, my dad was in Swindon. Playing Pakistan in neutral countries didn't really have any atmosphere. And those games in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, well, there's reasons why they were there. And as Moeen swings, nearly bowled there. He misses, goes through to the keeper. 5 needed from 8. But no question, seeing a full ground in Karachi is a very special thing, and the sound you can hear, the way that this series is, as expected, embraced and enjoyed, is just so exciting to see. And Helen, in theory, it won't be too long before you're leading an England side there as well.
Yeah, I hope so. We were obviously due to go on the original tour to Pakistan, that didn't happen, and the England girls are obviously playing a series right now, so wouldn't have quite fitted.
Moeen plays the ball into his pads, will pick up a single, and England now just within a boundary of victory. 4 needed from 7, but somewhere that you will never have played.
No, and I'd love to go out there. I think the story of Pakistan women's cricket is a remarkable one. The barriers that they've had to overcome, and as India is, it's one of the most passionate places for cricket in the world, and yeah, I hope to hopefully go there one day and play a few matches, but as far as I know, there's nothing in the calendar.
4 needed from 7. England close to victory now. Brook will make it even closer with a single worked off the hips into the leg side, and so they do still have work to do in the final over. 3 needed from 6 balls. When it gets to the final over, anything can happen, but England not far away from completing what would be a pretty impressive victory.
Yeah, a canter, you would say. They've not really had to put their foot on the gas in the second half. They've just had to more manage the chase, see off the risks or the dangers that were the Pakistani spinners, and then just really milk it after that point to make sure that the rate never got on top of them, and with a couple of loose deliveries and a couple of loose shots, they've managed to make that a pretty easy task for the last 4 or 5 overs. So yeah, it's been impressive today. I think the adaptability of the England team has been the thing that has stood out the most for me, and I'm sure that Pakistan will go and they'll talk about this game afterwards, and they will say that they didn't adapt to the conditions as well as England did, and that's something that they can improve on in the next game in a couple of days' time.
They'll probably cite the toss as well. It's quite significant, as we see the start of the final over. England need 3 to win. Brook gives himself some room. He doesn't get anything on it. It's a good delivery, that. It's full outside the off stump. It's that Yorker length. And you get it right. It's the hardest delivery to do anything with.
Well, if he bowls 6 of them, we could be in for a tasty finish. But that's hard.
There's the point as a batter you think, oh, surely not. Feeling the pressure a little bit, but still well within control. So if you have another dot or two, when you really start to feel that pressure.
Shahnawaz Dahani it is, bowling right arm over. And a low full toss. Well, that's welcome and happily put away. The game concludes. Brook driving it away through the offside. England victorious. They get there by 6 wickets. And celebrations for those in red. A historic game. The first time in 17 years. Not since England had a side containing Marcus Trescothick, Vikram Solanki, and names from a different era have they played a game in Pakistan, and England's men victorious in this first T20 by 6 wickets. 6 more of them to come. Plenty of action to look forward to in the coming days and weeks. But that is a really good start to the series for an England team led by Moeen Ali, who's out there in the middle shaking hands with the Pakistan side.
It is. Pakistan have won their last 7 T20 internationals at the Karachi National Stadium, and they're a very strong T20 side, but that was really brilliant performance from England. I think, as Finney said, their adaptability with the ball, they identified that going into the wicket, taking the pace off and using their spinners. Adil Rashid was outstanding, and Luke Wood on debut, 3 wickets for him. He was majestic, and then quite a low-key chase. Alex Hales picking up 50 in his first match back playing international cricket, and some brilliant impetus from Harry Brook in the middle, who hits the winning runs. He really took the pressure off the back end of the chase and made it a canter for the England team.
Indeed, England victorious then, and getting there with 4 balls to spare. So victory for England in the opening game of an historic tour to Pakistan. 17 years it has been since they have toured to this cricket-mad country, and such a special occasion to have 7 T20 internationals, the first of which won by England. Moeen Ali, stand-in captain, winning the toss, electing to field first. England, who reduced what looked like it was going to be a big total for Pakistan to 158 for 7. Luke Wood on debut picking up 3 for 24. Top scoring in the Pakistan innings, Mohammad Rizwan, was 68 from 46. So a target of 159. England getting there with 4 balls to spare. Alex Hales returning to the side and scoring 53 from 40 balls. And at the end, Harry Brook unbeaten, 42 from 25 deliveries.